All right. Welcome to the Indie Corner After Dark. We're not only talking about all things independent comics, but everything comics. I'm Mikey, and today people are back again another episode of the Indie Corner After Dark, episode number 35. And it's gonna be a little different. And I mean, people are used to, people watch us, we do reviews and all that stuff in terms of comic book. We won't do comic book content, but I want to do something different because this is something I've been wanting to talk about ever since I saw it announced. This is my most anticipated movie of the year, and we're gonna be talking about Sinners. And I got a few guests with me, so I'm gonna introduce them all separately. But to my right is a longtime friend of mine, former a college friend of mine, former Students of Shield member, who is a aspiring author and writer and creative and all that. It's Kolbie. Say hi, Kolbie. Say hi to the people.
Hi, happy to be here.
Yeah, of course. And you're more than welcome. Thanks for coming in. And to my bottom right is a friend of mine for a couple years now. I met him at the lovely convention known as BlurCon, and he's a cosplayer, YouTuber as well. Is my boy Big Mike from Big Mike Reviews. What's up, Big Mike?
What up?
And last but not least, to my bottom left. See, I think it's like appreciated him for coming in last minute because I needed an expert. In terms of the subject matter, and this man is an artist and a writer that I'm a huge fan of, and I love his work. If he does the indie comic book DayBlack, that is amazing. It's my boy Keef Cross. What's going on, Keef?
Hey, what's up, man? Thanks for having me. Thank you for the kind words.
Of course. Thanks for being here. And kind words are deserved. So, but yeah, so we are going to be talking Sinners. This movie's come out last week, so it's been a few days since it's been out. And for people that don't know, if you don't know, I mean, what rock have you been living under? You should be on top of these things. But it is the fifth film from director and writer Ryan Coogler, who has done many projects such as Fruitvale Station, Creed, The Black Panther, and yeah, this is his fifth film that he's been doing with his kind of his partner in crime, his partner in crime, Michael B. Jordan. Who knows done a lot of things. So I mean, everyone knows who Michael Jordan is. And yeah, this is his new original IP that is delving into the horror genre. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to talking with this, and thank you guys again for coming through. I think hopefully it's gonna be a good discussion. Hopefully, But yeah, man, yeah, people. Let's get right into it. So guys, before we get into our thoughts, we gotta talk about Ryan Coogler for a second. We gotta talk about this man and again what he's accomplished. So again, as I said, Ryan Coogler, director, writer, producer as well. Again, done Creed, Black Panther, Fruitvale Station, and also he's also the producing side. He's done the most recent thing he produced is Judas and the Black Messiah. People who have not seen that film, it's amazing. Yeah, man, Ryan Coogler out here, man. And then the thing is, like, he's become one of the most big faces in terms of black cinema, in terms of Hollywood period. Due to his accolades and all that. So yeah, man, it's good stuff. But I don't know if y'all knew, but Ryan Coogler making this film, he kind of has been changing the game in terms of Hollywood. And I wanted to. Did y'all hear about his deal that he made with Warner Brothers? Because it's distributed by Warner Brothers.
Yep, I did.
You did?
Well, how he's getting a percentage of the box office and. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, he ain't stupid. He gonna get his money.
No. Mm-hmm. He's not.
And the thing is, his money.
So we'll talk about it real quick. So he made 3 specific deals with Warner Brothers here for this film. So one was final cut. So he gets the final say on the version of the film right before it gets released. So pretty much he has full creative control on how the movie is edited and chopped up. So which is great. I think we lost Kolbie there for a second. Hold on, just remove him for a second until they come back. And the second deal that he made was first dollar gross. So like what Big Mike said, he gets a percentage of the revenue on the moment ticket sales roll in. So he starts making his money the moment the box office starts. All right, Kolbie's back, and last one was ownership, which is the biggest deal that he made with Warner Brothers. So right after 25 years, all the rights to the film will go back to Coogler and to his estate, which is a game changer because Hollywood studios like to hold on to IPs that are successful for as long as they can and milk them as long as they can. So the fact that they'll only get 25 years and it goes back to Coogler for him to do whatever he wants with, I think is crazy, and it's a game changer. So yeah, I just wanted to point some of that out, man. Respect to Coogler, for real. He's
genius.
Yeah, especially be his own something he wrote himself, or it be his own thing. That makes me like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it should be his. It's his IP, like you said. It's his, intellectual property.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
As someone that's like working on writing their own novel, and I, have big dreams and aspirations for it, but that is my big goal. Is like it's mine. Like, I want to share it with the world, but at the end of the day, it's mine, and I can really feel how much of this movie was like his baby, and how he's like, I want to share this, but it's mine.
Yeah.
A lot of times, a lot of the standard deals, you may retain ownership of it, but you're still going to have to give up certain things, like as far as like merchandising and any kind of spin-offs. Like you may have the core right and say they want to make a Smokestack solo series. The studio might want to get a piece of that, but he's going to get like everything. So that's like a big deal. And he's young enough to where 25 years really ain't going to be that bad,
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he'll still be around until those are after. So
yeah.
But yeah, man. I mean, the thing is game changer, especially like in Black, in terms of like it's really important for us, as Black creators and especially Black filmmakers in Hollywood to have like complete control of their own IPs, so that we can tell like the stories that we want to tell as authentically as we can, and as true and as true as we can. So I think it's amazing achievement, and hopefully like follows suit with other filmmakers and stuff like that in Hollywood. Just with filmmakers in general, not just Black filmmakers and stuff. It's a really big deal. But Ryan Coogler, man. And then the thing is, like, the backstory to this movie I thought was really interesting, like how the inspiration to the story. But yeah, just real quick. So Coogler, I was watching an interview, and Coogler pretty much described that like the inspiration for this story he got through his uncle James, who people I don't know, Ryan Coogler's from Oakland, California, and but some of his family's from like the South, and specifically his uncle and that side of the family is from Clarksdale, Mississippi, where the movies take place, and his uncle fled Clarksdale in his 20s. Due to like racial prosecution, and went to the West Coast. But his uncle was a huge fan of Delta blues music. Like every time Ryan would hang out with his uncle, and his uncle were really close, they would hang out. His uncle would only play Delta blues music and drink like straight whiskey, and that would be the only time he talked about Mississippi ever in his life. And he passed away, unfortunately, while Ryan was making Creed. And thing is, like, he was busy making the movie. He felt homesick. He felt disconnected from his family. When in terms of when it came to the grieving process, he would play Delta blues music, and that kind of felt like he was conjuring up the spirit of his uncle, and I thought that gave him the idea of this story. But yeah, man, I thought it was really interesting, the fact that this is really personal. It's a very personal story to him, and you can feel that when watching the movie. I don't know what are y'all thoughts on his backstory, on like how he came up with the concept.
Yeah, I heard the same story about his uncle. I mean, it's a really beautiful thing. He said he was really close to him. It was kind of a love letter to him because of his love of blues music. And one thing that I did notice too is that, like, I feel like Sammie is loosely based off of Robert Johnson, the blues player who supposedly sold his soul to the devil.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was gonna get into
so
that.
Like I picked up on that pretty good, because like I was also a big fan of the show Supernatural, and that was like one of the things on there, and I was like, that's very interesting. So yeah, like I love what he was doing here. I love what he was trying to do, all the hidden messages and everything. I mean, it's, to me, the movie's genius.
Mm-hmm. I love how he really openly cites his influences. Like he said, he was inspired by the Coen brothers to Tarantino from Dusk Till Dawn, of course, and yeah, and it shows. You know what I'm saying? So not trying to like pass anything off. So I really love that, like just paying homage to the people that came before you.
Exactly.
Yeah, there was a lot of influences in terms of the horror, genre.
What I could think of, yeah.
Yeah, it was like Dusk Till Dawn. I heard like The Faculty was a big one.
Yep.
Salem's Lot was a big one. Yeah, he the fact that he did his homework. I mean, obviously because he's a fan of movies and stuff like that. So he did his homework.
I think he mentioned
a little bit here, a little there. Puss in Boots too.
Yeah, he did.
We'll talk about that later. We'll talk about that later when it comes to when we talk about characters. But yeah, man.
Also, August Wilson, the playwright August Wilson. I know like a few themes in the movie, like he took directly from a lot of those stage plays. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, man, that's all I gotta say on Cougs, man. I mean, he's a genius. We all know it. And yeah, he's changing the game. He's taking like the influences and stuff like that he's taking for this movie is crazy. Yeah, man. Any thoughts on Coogler you want to bring up before we go into like the non-spoiler stuff? Give our thoughts.
I'll say this about Coogler, like he's got. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's just real trivial. I just love his accent. It's like and it's really strong, and it's really like, you know what I'm saying, it kind of makes you stop in your tracks when you hear him talk. But for me, it leaves me no question on who he's with. You know what I'm saying? Like I always feel like he like inherently with the culture, like no matter what. I feel like his vision and his passion for the culture is just as strong as that accent is. So when I hear him talk, like that's what I hear. I was like, yeah, that's the homie right there. Like no matter what,
For sure. Kolbie, what were you saying?
I was just saying that I don't think his praises can be like sung enough, especially just as I've said, as a aspiring Black creative. Like I left that movie with so much more than what I entered with, and not even like obviously on the spectrum of the movie, it was wonderful, but it was just like the love and care that you could see that he had put into it had moved me to such an extent to where it, like I think I mentioned, it kind of lit a fire under me to where I was like, I want to dedicate myself to my craft like this, because like this is the impact I want to make or be able to eventually achieve. And it was just wonderful.
Oh, we got a comment here right quick. Oh, Seamus. We might come in later, but Seamus was saying that 10-minute clip they released of Coogler talking about the differences in the film did more to sell the tickets than any trailer. True, I love that video that he dropped about them talking about the aspect ratios of what formats they put on in IMAX for this movie. That was great.
People went out of their way to see it in those different formats just because of the passion that he had shared. And I wanted to see it in IMAX, but where I'm at, it was going to be like over 2 hours of a drive. But again, like, it was just that passion that he's had throughout all of this that really got people in the theaters and interested to see it. Something I noticed when I went to see it, there weren't a lot of people the first time. And then a couple days had passed, and then when I went the second time, there were way more people. As if it was like the opening, but it wasn't. And it was just so clear that as the days had passed, like that impact was growing and more people were like, oh, I have to see this. Because every person that was online or on Twitter, on Instagram was like, oh, about to watch this, and then came back and was like, this is the best movie I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And it's also one of those type of movies that you want to see in a theater full of people, because you can feel that communal, everything that happens, you can feel the reaction. Crowd. That's always a great experience when that happens, especially when it's stuff that only we get. That we would.
I was going to say the same thing. It's definitely a us movie.
Right.
100%.
Yeah.
And I think that's what he wanted too. He wanted that communal experience, like how every time like there's a bunch of Black people in a horror movie, we're all talking, we're all exclaiming things at the screen. He wanted that, like because he said growing up watching horror movies with his family. That's one of the things he really enjoyed. So he wanted to bring that experience to this film, and I think it worked because it was one of the best experiences I had in the theater in a while, because it was just like everyone was just it was very communal experience, I thought. So yeah, that was great. But yeah, I mean, I got nothing else to say. I think we're good to move on right quick. Yeah, so let's go into like our overall thoughts real quick on the movie. So we'll just do this like a non-spoiler segment. So who wants to give like what was their first impressions going into it? Like what were your thoughts on it? Like without saying anything spoiler. I don't know who wants to go first.
I mean, I can go.
Yeah, Mike, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so going into it, like you said, Mikey, it was like one of my most anticipated movies. Like from the first trailer drop, I was like, oh, I got to see this. Because like I'm really into all kinds of different genres, but horror especially. And vampire stuff. Like I love Blade. Like that's a Blade tattoo. Like literally.
Shoot.
Yeah,
that's what's up.
I'm super into stuff like that. So I was really into this. And I was not disappointed, not let down. I left the theater the first time like this movie was genius. I picked up on a lot of the subtle nuances of the film the first time, but each time I've seen it since, because I've seen it 3 times, I picked up on more things. So it's definitely a very layered film. It's almost it's like an onion. It's very layered, and each time like you just pick up more and more of like what message he's trying to portray in this movie, and it's absolute genius. I can't talk it up anymore.
Keef, Kolbie, what are your thoughts on it?
I can go. When I first went in, or when I first saw the trailer at least, I was like, holy crap, black vampires. I'm in. Like, I am a lover of Vampire Diaries, Twilight. Like, I've always loved the vampires. So I was like, I want to know what this is. And then they showed 2 Michael B. Jordans, and I was like, "What? What are we talking about here?" And then they showed that honestly, what sold me on I have to see it was we cousins, and I was like, "All right, so I'll be there. I don't care what it's about. I'll be there." But like I said, I left that movie with so much more than I was expecting to, because I knew it was a period piece. I knew it was about music. I knew it was about vampires. But those were like the 3 things I knew. I had no way how he would link them, the story he would tell with them, and he exceeded my expectations 10 times over. And it was just like everyone in it was phenomenal. Also, I'm sure we will mention this, and I hope I don't step on your toes, Mikey, but this being Miles Caton's first film is crazy.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah. That boy can sing. He can. He's a natural. He's a natural. Like it was.
I gushed over to him with my sister about him. I was like, this kid is insane. Like it's crazy. We'll get into Miles, but
talking about people were saying they wanted him to play Miles Morales, and he was like, I mean, my name is Miles. And I bet it's
possible.
I have no doubt in my mind that that movie, I think if I ever see him as a role for anything, I don't think I'd question it. I'd be like, I bet he can do it.
Mm-hmm. All right, Keef, what are your thoughts on this movie, bro?
Yeah, well, I gotta say I went into it probably a lot differently than a lot of people did, because when I heard the synopsis of it probably a couple years ago. Okay, so first of all, I don't know if anybody's familiar with what my comic book is about. For people that don't
plug it.
Okay, yeah. So my comic book is called DayBlack. It's about a slave that was bitten by a vampire in the cotton fields. Present day, he works as a tattoo artist as a way to collect blood. And he has this tattoo machine that he's rigged where it sucks blood out as it gives ink. So he's able to feed on his clientele without killing them and still turn a profit. And he lives in this town where the sky is so dense with pollution that blocks the sun out so he can walk around day or night. Okay, so when I first heard the announcement, I was like scared because I heard Ryan Coogler doing a black vampire movie. I was like, shit. Oh, can I curse? I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah.
Okay. So, and also just to put a little context in, at the time, DayBlack was optioned by CBS for an animated series. So I was shopping the book around different studios and different streaming services around the time that the announcement was made. So in my mind, I'm thinking, damn, maybe he heard something, or maybe this and this and that. So for the year, for like the time leading up to the release, I'm like sweating bullets kind of until I heard an official synopsis, and I was like, okay, it don't really sound exactly. It's not really what I thought it was gonna be. So I go watch it, and this is why I need to see it again, because I need to watch it where I'm not tensed up the whole time waiting for something that I thought of with comes on screen. I'm bracing myself the whole movie, so I can't even really fully just relax and enjoy it. So, and a moment like that did happen, and a moment did happen where something was on screen, and I was like, and I literally had to check out for a minute. Like I stopped even focusing on the screen. I was just staring into space, like they got it, they got my shit. So I'm like that for like 10 minutes. I don't even know what happened 10 minutes after I saw this. I'm not gonna spoil it since people haven't seen it, but well, no, actually I can, because it's not really okay. I won't say that. I won't say it just to be safe. Okay. But I will say that a lot of it felt so familiar to me because it's been that I've been working in within my book, as far as Black vampires, as far as the time period, as far as just the spirituality and the hoodoo, like all of those things that I work with in my book. So a lot of the stuff just seemed kind of like second nature to me watching it. So from that, I could only really judge it based on its merits, based on like the cinematography, the performances, the story, you know what I'm saying? So all of that was top tier, you know. It was a great film. Yeah.
Okay. And it's funny because I remember I texted you right after I watched the movie. I was like, "Yo, Keef, like you gotta pitch your book to Cook," because I kept thinking of DayBlack. I kept thinking of your book. And I kept thinking of Greg's book. It's not a lot. Like every time when I was watching it. So
got a lot of understanding, you know.
Yeah, but yeah, for me, I mean, I've been a fan of Coogler forever since I was like 16 when I watched Creed for the first time. I loved that film. And then followed him and he did Black Panther. Black Panther like was amazing. It's one of my favorite. What's up?
Have you ever seen Fruitvale Station?
I have. Now I have later. I did later on after Creed, and I only watched it once because I was so mad and like so hurt watching that movie afterward. I like didn't want to watch it again.
That was the first movie I had ever watched with Michael B. Jordan in it, and I didn't know anything of Ryan Coogler until like later, and his name was getting bigger, but I didn't realize that was like his first film and his first film with Michael B. Jordan. But I did watch that movie, and I did sob my eyes out, and I've only seen it one time. It's one of those one and dones for me. Yeah, for me too. But yeah, like every movie I've seen with them is just like exceeds my expectations each time.
And the thing is, I knew Michael B. Jordan like before Creed, but not because of Fruitvale. I saw him in one of my favorite movies of all time is Chronicle. Like I love
Chronicle. Oh yeah, I love Chronicle. I love that movie.
You're so right.
Yeah, it's like check my letterbox. It's on my top 4 on my letterbox. I love
that movie from The Wire first though.
Okay, yeah, The Wire too.
I always forget he's in Chronicle because they take him out like in the first 30 minutes.
But
no, he lasted like 3/4 of the movie.
Yeah, he was like he lasted a good amount of the film.
I know they let that boy get away with too much after he took it. like no, there's no way.
But he did the most with his time though. Like he chewed up every scene.
He totally
100%. He was my favorite character of the whole movie. Like, I loved him in Chronicle. But but when he did Black Panther, when Black Panther came out, and Kolbie was there, like because we and Kolbie were in the comic book club because we went to Penn State together. And we all went to go see Black Panther. It was a huge deal for me personally because I grew up loving this character since I was like 6, and like I come from, my family's from East Africa, so like I have that. He was my first like ever like experiencing an African comic book character like ever, so it was close to my heart. So I watched it, loved it, and been a fan of Coogler ever since. So when this movie was coming out, and I knew about this movie like I think like 6 months before the teaser even dropped, because I was seeing set photos and stuff about like, said Coogler was doing a vampire movie. So I knew it was a vampire movie straight up. I didn't know what angle it was going to take. I knew it was a period piece. Saw that first teaser, was impressed, one, because he took the Jordan Peele route and was like, I'm not going to reveal much about this movie. I was like, good. So then I didn't watch anything after that. I didn't watch second trailer. I didn't watch any. I tried to avoid some of the promo stuff towards when the film was coming out. So I watched this movie relatively blind. I did not know what was. I didn't see what the vampires looked like. I didn't know any of like the story beats. because I watched the second trailer after I watched the movie, and I was like, yeah, this revealed a lot. So I was like,
it did.
I took
the scene they show in the trailer where Michael B. Jordan has like he's going, but like the truth behind that, because obviously when you witness it, you're like, oh, obviously it's vampires, like he's killing off vampires. But then you watch it and you realize what he's actually doing, and you're like,
yeah,
oh,
I love that.
It's crazy how that trailer it does give a lot away, but it also doesn't, because you think you know what you're going in to see, and then it's not.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too. I went in going into being, it's gonna be like even though it's Coogler, so I know he's gonna go more in depth with like the actual genre. But like I was like, okay, I'm expecting like a fun vampire movie. That's cool. But went into it and got a lot more than I expected. I didn't realize how dense this movie was. I didn't realize how many genres he blends together. And because I'm a huge horror guy, like, and again, like with my Big Mike, I'm a huge Blade fan. Like Blade that's my guy. Like MCU was hurting me because they slacking with this film.
Exactly.
So I was very like I like the whole black vampire thing. I was already in for. But when I watched the movie and left with theater, and I was like, this really isn't like a vampire movie. It's way more than that. It's just it's a mix of like it's drama, it's thriller, it's horror, but like it's a period piece, and but with vampires. Like vampires are secondary in this
very
film.
much so. Yes.
So that was a big surprise to me. But but overall the performances were great. The writing is brilliant. Like the pacing is really good. It's the music especially, because we'll get into the music, but I consider the music to be like another character in this film.
It is. Totally.
But yeah, overall, I mean, for me personally, I was satisfied. I think this is my favorite movie of the year so far. Probably, I don't think anything will top it for me personally. But yeah, this movie's great. It's great. It's genius. But yeah, anything else anyone wants to say before we go on into the spoiler territory?
One thing I will say, I know that there's always been the talk of like, no one's going to the movie theaters. Put out good movies. Like, maybe don't make remakes of the same 3 things we've already seen, or like casting problematic people and things that make people want to make good movies. This has brought so many more people back to movie theaters. I personally am not someone who goes out of their way to see movies just because I'm like, it'll come out on streaming. I went the day before it released. Mikey knows they always release the movies the day before in our area of our school. I saw it then, and I paid again. I can't think of any movie I've ever gone to see. I went by myself. I saw it again because I was like, it's that good. Make movies good again, and then people will go see them. Like, I just
and to add on to that, I was having a discussion at work this morning, and literally like I was telling my coworkers about Sinners now, how much I loved it, and my coworker pointed out that and it's the fact that like it's an original project, and that like, you know, people are praising it because it's an original film, but also like recently it's just like, and it's been one of my biggest gripes in movies the past like how many so years now at this point, where like because of, you know, big IP projects like like Marvel Studios, DC, like we're so used to like people only go to movies nowadays to only when it's like big IPs like that. No one's really going to see original films that much. Like literally last month, like 4 original films, like big original films came out like that people were talking about, but like no one really saw them. A lot of them bombed, like Novocaine, Mickey 17, like those movies like were good.
I saw but I'm a big movie buff. So like my wife and I have Regal Unlimited because we go to the movies so much, it would be stupid like to pay. So we pay $20 a month. We go as much as we want because we both love going to the movies. And in my area, it's kind of a big thing. So like, there's always a good amount of people in the theater that we go to.
Yeah, and
it also depends on what area you're in.
Yeah, also, and I read that a reason a lot of these movies, or there are a lot of reboots, is a direct result of people not going to see original movies. So studios like bank, they're not going to see these movies, so we just gonna It made money once. We're gonna try to make money off of it again.
Yeah.
Because when you think about 824 Films, for example, like they're constantly putting out, in my opinion, like great films.
A24 is my favorite studio.
Yeah,
right now,
they're not blowing down the bank. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think that's really their goal or their business model. But yeah, you could have some of the best movies in the world, but and I'm guilty of this too. Like if it's not really just because of the cost of popcorn, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm at home, I can smoke. I can do whatever I need to do while I'm watching the movie, instead of going to the movie. And I got kids, I got to watch. So instead of like paying like almost $100 for a good night out with popcorn and everything, for me, it has to be like an event. Like it has to be a spectacle that I'm seeing on the big screen. Like Avatar, I'm going to see it. Killers of the Flower, maybe I'll catch that when it comes. Maybe I'll catch that as streaming when I can watch it. And pause it if I need to, because I know it's like 3 hours long. But also, I think that's also a testament to streaming and how that's kind of like, I think, programming our experience, that we're used to seeing stuff in increments or stopping when we need to, instead of committing and sitting through that whole movie. You know what I'm saying? But I never once felt like that watching Sinners. Like I could have probably watched another hour if it was like had it easy.
Well, just to plug the unlimited thing again, though, Keith, you get points every time you go. I remember we took our boys, what was it, a couple weeks ago, and we got all kinds of like concessions. Paid $5.
Oh, really?
Because we go to the movie so much. So we collect all these points. We don't spend no money.
Okay.
That's what's up. But yeah, I mean, just to quote Cord Jefferson, who's the director and writer of American Fiction. I remember this during his Oscar speech. The movies like this, when these movies are successful, like Sinners, small budget projects, it's Hollywood teach Hollywood to make more $20 million, $50 million, $100 million movies than like $200 million.
Yeah, because it's gonna turn a profit even if it doesn't make like $1 billion.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think this movie proves that. I want to get into spoilers now. Let's do that. So for people who are watching this, and you haven't seen the movie, what are you doing? Get out. Are you gonna get the ceremonious boot? Right. Go to the theater, get your ticket, and watch it, especially in IMAX, because this movie needs to be seen in IMAX for sure.
100%.
All right. So I'm gonna put a little video up. So all right. So we're going to spoilers in 3, 2, 1. All right.
I've been warned.
We're in spoiler territory. Yeah, no, it's a little jarring. That's why I was saying. But yeah, so spoiler territory. So now we're officially in spoilers. But yeah, so we usually when we do these reviews, for people, like Big Mike and Keef aren't familiar. I don't think Kolbie is familiar. But we always do like what we like, what we didn't. But I wanted to change up a little bit, and I just wanted to like this. Because I had so many things to talk about with this movie. I wanted to maybe just get some points that to say things that I like. I'll introduce some stuff, and then y'all can just like piggyback on that. But for me, when it comes to this movie, 3 things I really appreciated a lot with this movie, in terms of the story and all that stuff, is the history aspect, especially the stuff involving the Jim Crow South, because this movie takes place in Clarksville, Mississippi, in 1932. So pretty much straight Jim Crow South, so Jim Crow laws, all that stuff, and the thing is, I took some the brief notes that I have before I threw them out. There's a few concepts that I wanted to just address real quick. And again, I'm a huge history buff, so I love this. I love that Coogler gave me history food. I love that shit. But yeah, just I'm discussing Jim Crow laws. So pretty much these are the laws that pretty much were involved with segregation, especially within the South, in terms of black people and people of color. When one scene, with some of the characters, like especially with Sammie and Cornbread, we get introduced to the concept of sharecropping. And for people that don't know, sharecropping is the labor system that was introduced post Civil War, after slavery, where it's pretty much landowners would allow tenants to farm their land, and tenants would pay rent by giving a percentage of the crops to the landowner. So it was pretty much just reinvented slavery with a fancy name.
Yeah, pretty much.
I was like, it was just different slavery.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was slavery, but you paid them a little bit of money instead of nothing.
Exactly. So there's that. Also, the concept of convict leasing, which again that was in the scene where Stack, Delta Slim, and Sammie were driving, trying to pick up Cornbread. We saw some prisoners, doing work in unison, and that was pretty much convict leasing. Definition of that is leasing prisoners to private companies for labor. So pretty much, another version. It's pretty much another variation of slavery where you have workers pretty much under contract via from a prison via a company to do work for free. Another reinvented version of slavery, and as well as because this takes place in 32, so this takes place the year prior to Prohibition being ended. So we're in the Prohibition era still. So again, people that don't know Prohibition, there's a ban of sale, manufacturing, and transport of alcohol from during the 1920 and ending in 1933, so a year after this movie takes place. So yeah, those are some of the 4 historical things that I wanted to point out there. Any thoughts on this stuff in terms of any of the stuff that's they introduced in the movie?
Yeah, I thought it was done very well. I mean, everything you mentioned there, they touched on, all of these things that are relevant. I mean, these things happen. A lot of people try to tell us to forget about them and get over it. But this is a part of our history, it's a part of our culture, and we need to know about it. I mean, there's a lot of people who don't and need to be educated on things like this so we know where we've been, so we know where we're going.
Exactly. And the thing is, like, with me, and which is why, kind of goes right around to why, Coogler was so adamant on, getting so much creative control and ownership to this film. It's like, we need that authenticity to tell our own stories the way they're supposed to be told, because especially in this climate now, with this country, politically, they want to censor it, because try to have us, have it censored, try to have it, get over it, but if we need to learn these things, because if you obviously, to quote Churchill, if you don't learn the past, you're doomed to repeat it. So
and another thing is the thing with Mary, her passing. Even though she didn't want to, it was almost kind of forced to, especially in the South. It's do you claim Black and, be persecuted, or do you try to pass, you know what I mean? And then, you don't have to worry about that, but you have to worry about being outed.
Exactly.
So that kind of hit home for me because, on my wife's side, so her dad's side was actually like that, right?
Oh, wow.
Because my wife's very light, but her dad looked white, but he wasn't. But he actually claimed, he put colored on his license, because back then you had to do things like that. And he was kind of like how Mary was, where she didn't want to pass, but he was all out with it. He was nah, because it was a story I think she told me once where her parents got pulled over because they're from Virginia. And her dad was riding a motorcycle, got pulled over, and the cops were like, "Why you got that Negro?" But he didn't say Negro on the back of your bike, and he was like, "'Cause I'm colored," and they didn't believe him.
Yeah.
But I mean, things like that happen all the time, and that those are things people need to know too, because especially with, I guess that's going back to colorization. Is that how we say it? Colorization? Colorism, yeah. It's a stigma between dark, light, whatever. You're too dark, or you're too light, or whatever. Black is black.
Exactly.
Because I mean, like I said, my wife's really light. She's really, really light. We got our DNA tested. She's literally more African than me. It's crazy. Wow. It's crazy. So the tone of your skin don't really mean that.
It really
black
doesn't.
Is black. Black is black.
But yeah, Kolbie, you have anything to say on any of these concepts at all, or no?
Not more than it pissed me off. It just makes me appreciative of where I am, where our people are, and where our people are going. But it also makes me angry to realize how much we had to go through to even be considered partly equal, and even still today people to still not even believe that. And this is with someone I have a white partner, but something I find very important is I have very open discussions on my blackness and how having a white partner doesn't negate my blackness, doesn't change my blackness, and if anything, I want my partner to be a better ally. So my partner saw this movie with me, and she was moved to tears because she was just like, oh my, like, which obviously she knew these things, but the extent in which it is taught outside of the Black culture is so vastly different. So it was really important to,
if at all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's just, it was nice to see that a movie that again is new in itself was focused in that era, but it was also nice that it wasn't, you know, a Black trauma film.
No.
Because there's also
No.
I'm not someone who goes out of their way. Like I haven't seen 12 Years a Slave or like because I know what happened. I am confident that what happened. I understand that I may be the intended audience, but I'm not, because most Black people, at least Black people in my family, like that puts them in very dark places, and I know it fills me with a lot of anger and like not hatred, but we're pushing it. But this movie, I mean, I didn't agree with the vampires, but I mean, I might have been out there jigging a little bit. I don't know. Because they were making some pretty good points.
I would have river danced on the inside.
I would definitely stay myself inside, but I mean, but overall, them being villains wasn't about, at least for Remmick, it wasn't about him being white. Like, it wasn't like, even though there was inherently a white person that was like the bad guy on the other side of things, but that's just a typical bad white guy that we've been new. Like, as soon as he called them boy in the first meeting, I was like, here we go. Because, and then he said the Klan don't exist no more. The Klan exists today.
Right.
Yeah, true.
It's not that he would know that.
Klan's in the White House. Oh, did I say that out loud? Did I say that out loud?
I mean, it was implied. It was implied. But yeah, no, I really appreciated, again, like Coogler didn't hold back at all with what subject matter he wanted to tell in terms of, you know, with this period piece and how accurate it was, especially like when it came to even some of the small details. Like there's this scene that I love a lot when we get introduced to the Chows and to the Chows in the grocery store, and like the thing is, it wasn't like, it was a moment where like we know how, like, you know, the hierarchy in terms of, like, you know, segregation works when you're in like public spaces. Like literally this scene where like you meet Chow's daughter, Grayson Bo's daughter, and then she tries to get her mom, and then literally like you see this like the pretty much like the colored version of their grocery store. Their mom, Grace, is across the street, does a tracking shot, and you literally see that her version of the store is much nicer, much cleaner, much more bigger space. So it was more subtle details like that I really appreciated, and he did a lot of that throughout the course of the movie, where you really have to, like, you know, pay attention and see all that stuff. Like, yeah, like I'm not gonna push this directly on you, but like it's still there. So like, you know, which I really appreciated it. So which I think
is like better.
Yeah, I thought that him casting Delroy Lindo was the genius, because everything that you just talked about as far as the Jim Crow and the Prohibition and just that quality of life back then, like he wore all of that on his face. And it's like having him as a character was really a shorthand way to kind of understand the times, because just think about when Stack handed him that beer, you know what I'm saying, how he just relished just the taste of that beer. That just lets you know they were in that Prohibition era. He probably hadn't had a beer in how long, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And just in the scene where, and probably actually my favorite part in the whole movie, when they were riding in the car and he was talking about his friend that got lynched and castrated. And they instantly start going into blues, and I was like, you're literally watching the birth of blues right there. Like that is how like coming through the pain and like singing through that pain, like that was blues. Like in this, I've never seen it was literally like watching a genre be created like right there on the spot. Like that's how blues originated, literally. And that was when I saw that, I was like, fuck, like that's
And the thing is too with that scene, it was amazing just because I love how they when he's explaining it, and I think it's like I haven't really heard this and seen this in the movie before, where like he's explaining like the recollecting like the lynching with his friend, and usually like we used to like flashbacks of them just exposition just telling us, but they used audio in the background to like have you imagine it and just give your own interpretation of like what's going on. I love that, and also I was watching an interview right before we started that him just playing with a harmonica right after was just improv. It just felt like he felt naturally to do that, and I thought that was amazing. That was an amazing moment.
I noticed that. I noticed it my first time because there's like screams and like there's like a tussle that you can hear, but obviously he's still speaking, and I was like, what is that? Like it, and what I realized when I saw it again yesterday, I was like, it is the like background of what he's saying, and it was so crazy to witness him like go through that intense emotion, and the only thing that could calm him down was that hum. And then Stack is like, you got a guitar, like play it, like
stop playing it.
Crazy.
I think that was another way of Coogler trying to avoid the whole trauma porn thing. Like, why shoot that instead of just having here's another way to express that.
Right.
Because like Black folk know what a lynching looks like.
Right.
Yeah.
Like it's not something
nobody wants to see that. Like nobody wants to see that, right?
I think it's more powerful to have Delroy Lindo tell the story, because I mean, let's be honest here. That man's one of the most underrated actors in Hollywood.
Yes.
True.
Of all time.
Yeah, and I think what's so great about this movie is that I feel like for so long Black people have been asking for more movies that center us, that isn't just trauma. Like where I mean there is trauma in the movie, obviously. But like it's enjoyable, it's fun, you laugh, like you cry, like it's movie that we have been asking for, that's for,
and also not a gangster movie.
Yeah,
true.
It's not a I mean,
well,
kind of, but not like it was spoke like they were gangsters, but not at the time they were making the movie.
Yeah, no.
True.
And it's not like, they're not New York City gangsters. They're gangsters that have like given up the gangster lifestyle. Now they're going back home. Even though that scene when Smoke shoots that dude in his behind.
In the ass. You can say the ass. It's okay. He shot him in the ass.
And he's like, I'd be doing a lot better if you hadn't shot me in the ass. And it's like, again, we're in that scene where you're seeing the segregation of people, but it's still like it's not about that. It's about this movie and what's coming. And I also like at least how I feel like the vampires aren't even in it long. Like
not really.
We see them, we know they're coming, but it's again, it's not about the vampires or the fear. It's more about community and people and wanting to make a place where our people can go and feel safe and enjoy themselves. And that's
I feel like Lovecraft Country primed us for this movie.
Yeah.
Yo, yeah. I was getting those vibes immediately when I was.
Oh man, that was a great series.
Yeah.
And it got canceled way too early.
Oh yeah, it should have definitely got a second season.
Yeah.
They just can't let us have it. They just can't let us have it.
They can't let us have nothing. They can't let us have nothing.
All right, but
it's crazy.
But that's pretty much all I gotta say on this. I think with me, it's interesting with me because when it comes to like getting period pieces like this involving like African American history and all that, it's sometimes weird for me because like my roots aren't like based in the States because my parents are immigrants, but because I live in this, because I was born here, I was raised here, I've adopted like the history. So like I always get fascinated by it. Even I'm not saying that like where my family was at, because my family's from Tanzania, East Africa. Like I had ancestors who were enslaved. I had ancestors who were prosecuted because of the color of their skin, but in a whole different aspect and context than what happened in the States. But it's pretty much all the same. But I always love seeing learning about all this stuff because it's I kind of have to, it's kind of my responsibility to do so. So this is what's up.
Before we move on, we were talking about the Delta Slim scene, and I know earlier we were mentioning how it was like a movie for us. One of my favorite things about that scene is when he's talking about like they're playing the music for the white folks, and then they would change the tempo to confuse them because they were like almost on.
Yeah, he's like they was almost on rhythm.
Like, and that's so us. Like that is inherent. Like we find stuff like that funny.
Yep.
And it was so, and obviously they're telling like a very deep, traumatic story, but it was still like it's us. It's our people talking because. Like I said, I have a white partner. She don't got no rhythm.
It's all right.
It is her fault, but it was still fun.
No, I did really appreciate that. Yeah, there's a lot of nuances. Like, there's a lot of like nods to like that only black people will get, which they think is great.
Delta,
but yeah,
Delta was great. I love
Delta was great. We'll get into Delta because I want to when we get into characters, but just to move on. Real quick, another topic that I loved a lot that they explored. Well, they explored. It wasn't like a huge major thing, but like there was there was an atmosphere around it. But in terms of religion and spirituality, because we got a lot. Well, we got in the beginning and a little bit of it sprinkled in here and there was aspect of like the black church. Loved that. I thought that was really interesting. But also like on the opposite end of the spectrum, we also got in terms of Annie's character, which we'll go into Annie, but the idea of like hoodoo and like West African like folklore and mythology. When we get into like stuff like griots and and all that stuff. But I thought this was real. I loved this aspect of it a lot. Even though me personally, I'm not really that religious, but I do like learning about aspects of Christianity and religion in terms of like the mythology of it, as well as some aspects of it, and also in terms of like I do also really like the going into like African mythology, African like West African folklore. Like, and I think it's with me, I didn't know much about who. I mean, obviously I know who voodoo is, but the people that don't know, voodoo is the actual religion that actually has dogma and actual statutes and all that. And hoodoo is the actual. It's just it's more of a individual practice. I didn't really know much about hoodoo at all going into this movie, and I did more research afterward. But I did really like that. Like Coogler was playing on how what Christianity, like the black church, means to the black community, as well as but also reminding us of our traditions in terms of hoodoo and that and that side. So I really did like it a lot. I don't know who wants to keep. I'm actually curious what do you think of what this aspect? I knew you going into some of this in DayBlack, I think so.
Yeah, I do. And actually my wife practices Ifa, so I've been around this stuff for years. I don't do it myself. I don't really mess with any religion, but I respect them all and respect everybody's right to. I feel like any path to find God is the right path. You know what I'm saying? So I don't go wrong. But I just felt one thing I will say that I don't like, and this is nothing new. Anything outside of Christianity for black people is the devil. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of black people's only reference to hoodoo or voodoo would be like Serpent and the Rainbow, and you know what I'm saying, like movies where it's really portrayed as evil, or which I'm sure of course there are aspects of that, what I'm saying, if you explore that, but I think any religion has their own little maybe sects of things that may be questionable to some people, but it's a very natural thing for us. And I love that Coogler is putting that in such a big high profile vehicle to kind of expose people to it, and kind of demystify it, the stigma of it being evil, because in this movie it was purely used for good and it was purely used to kind of help everybody. So I love that he used that to show that side of it that is rarely seen.
And if I interject, if you notice, because you're talking about the Christianity, you talk about the hoodoo, the vampires was almost cult-like. If you think about it, like the chanting, the fellowship and love. See, now I'm not going to say what religion it was. But I grew up in the cult, and luckily I fled it. So I caught on to that immediately. I was like, oh, yeah, I see this. I see where they're going with that. Where it's like
the hive mind.
Yeah, it's a hive mind. It's all inclusive. It's them and no one else. You can't associate with no one else but them. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, those were the contrasts of that. So that's another thing that like maybe you should add to that that discussion. There is the cult-like aspect of the vampires.
I didn't even catch that. Yeah. No, that makes a lot more sense. Okay.
As I have always considered myself to be like agnostic, I believe that there is a higher power. I don't know if I necessarily align myself with one, but I also respect any and all religions. However you choose yourself, like that doesn't have anything to do with me. But in my book that I'm writing, I'm like creating my own religion like from scratch. So I've been doing a lot of my own research and understanding how religion affects people, how it affects the choices they make, and things like that. So seeing like the scene where Preacher Boy returns and he has that guitar and he's like, his dad's telling him to leave it. What I found so interesting about that scene is when he starts praying and when Remmick is like over him, and then Remmick starts praying the same thing. And I feel like you may think like, oh, because he's a vampire and I start praying, he's gonna have like this visceral reaction. But he instead joins and he says like, people took my land too and they gave me this religion, and it didn't help me. It didn't really change anything for me, but I still find peace in it. And I feel like knowing that, and then Sammie choosing to go back home and his dad also trying to push that same kind of religious view on him, and then him ultimately choosing neither was so impactful. The scene where he's driving and he has it like clutched to his chest is the scene where I just lost my mind. Like I started sobbing my eyes out because I felt that like you have to choose your passion, and sometimes that may conflict with religion, sometimes that may conflict with what your parents think, but like sometimes it's about what you need and what you want to give to the world and not what someone else has set up for you in their whole grand plan of things. Because ultimately his dad wanted to use him as, you know, he wanted him to become a preacher like him. Remmick wanted to use him to I guess he said to like bring him back to his people because of the music he was able to create. But ultimately his was himself and his passion. Even after Smoke was like, if you ever play that guitar again, like I'm gonna kill you, which I mean didn't but
yeah, true.
It was just there was an appreciation for religion that I really respected, but also a sense of like there's a different choice that you can make. Like it doesn't have to be hoodoo or like Christianity. Like you can find ways to coexist.
Yeah, and even that scene, like the scene you're talking about where he was also saying the prayer with him, that was another part that that reminded me, because in my book, all vampires aren't repelled by crosses, because I always thought like, well, what if you weren't a Christian before you were a vampire? You know, why would that automatically repel you? You know, so in my book, like any religious symbol that pertains to your particular belief is the symbol that will repel you. You know what I'm saying? So if you're Jewish, then the Star of David will have you like, you know, or the crescent and the star. If you're Muslim, like so that resonated with me. You know, just not assuming, you know, that everybody is just, you know, one thing. You know.
For sure, and I'll just close it off with this. I also like how kind of, because Delroy Lindo, when Slim said something in there in the movie, like during the same scene where he's driving with Stack and Sammie, where in terms of tying to the music, where it's like, you know, where he said like they forced their religion on us, but this music is ours. Like I kind of liked how self-aware he was, where it's like, yeah, even though like majority of the, like, you know, Christianity like is, I feel like it's the majority in terms of, you know, worship by Black people, but like they're aware that like it wasn't ours. Like, you know, we had our own traditions and our own, you know, practices before, you know, colonialism and all that. So I really, which personally always really bothers me when it comes to like when it comes to Black Christianity, is like Like we had our own traditions, like and when we bring those up, like over like now, like it's stigmatized, you know. So or because people don't really have the knowledge about it. So I really appreciated that aspect, and I feel like that what Kolbie said, like Coogler does a good job of like, you know, they say the two can coexist. Like you can be Christian, but also we can have our own, you know, practices and all that stuff that, you know, with better understanding, it won't be as stigmatized. Like what Keef said with Annie's character, like it was mostly used for good the whole time. Like never,
and
you know.
Wife, she practices Ifa, but she goes to church every Sunday. You know what I'm saying? She takes needs from both ideologies and applies it. You know, so I think that's great. I think that's great when you can do that. You know, you don't have to. It doesn't have to be an absolute. You know.
Exactly. Yeah. So we'll move on to the next topic then. So the last thing I want to say that I loved, which again this is the fun part. You know, the music. You know, focusing on, you know, the Delta blues, and also just to rewind the tape with him, religion aspect. You know, people that don't know their history with the Delta blues is one of the first, you know, genres of music to be referred to as the devil's music, which is what Coogler has mentioned throughout the course of, you know, his time talking about this film. And obviously, you know, Mike mentioned, you know, Robert Johnson, and, you know, the Crossroads. But yeah, man, this movie in terms of the Delta blues, I don't know who. I mean, we'll go around and say who our connection with the blues, but I didn't really have one. You know, I mean, I knew of the genre. I mean, respected it. But like I didn't grow up really listening to blues. My pops, I even talked to him about it after I watched the movie. I was like, "You even listen to blues music?" He's like, "Yeah, I listen to a few guys, but my dad's more of a jazz guy. My dad, I grew up with jazz, funk, you know, stuff like that. Growing up with my father. But what Coogler discusses with this movie a lot is that that the blues is like the fundamental like source of modern popular culture. Like, you know, a lot of like almost every genre that we have in music, you know, over the past how many decades has been derived from the blues, and it was really great the way they explored that. But also, you know, shout out to, you know, obviously Ludwig Göransson, who is you know, famed Oscar-winning, you know, composer in film. You know, Ryan Coogler's like, you know, partners and cohorts in his film journey. Very talented, and it was very interesting because they dropped a documentary. They dropped a little video on the Proximity Media, which is Ryan Coogler's production company, their channel, about, you know, the production process of you know, of the movie with Ludwig Göransson, and it was really interesting because Ryan Coogler has this connection to blues with his uncle. Ludwig Göransson, even though he's from Sweden, he's from Europe originally, has a connection to the blues because his father, who was a guitar teacher, was a guitarist. That's his favorite genre of music was the blues, and that's all the way out in Europe, you know, and listening to, like, you know, his story about, you know, his connection to the blues, and, you know, how big, you know, the blues was, you know, in Europe as well, and how, you know, that, and I thought it was really interesting. And I thought in terms of the music and the score, he did a phenomenal job. And obviously he collaborated with, you know, Miles Caton, as well as some other, you know, blues artists for this film. And I thought it was really good. I will say, so there's one person that I do listen to that is blues related. It was actually in this movie. He's in the movie, and he's a part of the score. I listened to one blues song by this artist named Kingfish, and I found him through Luke Cage. I saw him. He did a song in season 2 of Luke Cage. It was like "The Thrill Is Gone." It was his version of "The Thrill Is Gone," which I love. It was beautiful piece of music, and yeah, he's in this movie. So I was like, oh shit, maybe I have been listening to blues like the whole time and just didn't even realize. So yeah, I don't know who wants to go. Who wants to talk about the music? I think Mike looking eager. He wants to get into it.
Yeah, so I mean, I was a huge fan of the music. I didn't really grow up with the blues. My family was more so into, like you said, funk and stuff like that. But my grandfather would play it sometimes. So, you know, I had a small, you know, connection to it. And when I would watch movies or, you know, even TV, and they would feature some things like that, you know, I would see was like B.B. King and, you know, things like that back in the day. I know Keef would know who that is.
Yeah, my pops did tell me that one of the only blues artists that he did really listen to a lot was BB King. He loves BB King. So.
Yeah. So just everything. I mean, like we had discussed earlier, the music was almost like another character in the film, and it was really, you know, done with tremendous, you know, love and care, and just as brilliantly as everything else was written was how the music was integrated into this film.
For sure. Keef, what are your thoughts on the music, bro?
Yeah, the music was great. That one scene in particular, well, I mean, I'm not gonna say I have a huge connection to blues either. Kind of like what Big Mike was saying, I know BB King just from, you know, that's like the poster child for blues, I think, for most people. But just, of course, seeing those movies, you always see an old black sweaty guy, cigarette smoke, you know, just torn down, just downtrodden, you know what I'm saying, just with an amazing voice. But other than that, and of course you could think about contemporary like artists like, I don't know, like Anthony Hamilton, you know what I'm saying, even D'Angelo, you know what I'm saying, maybe has like some blues in their music. So I think it's just it's one of those. It's just like what it's called, blues. It's just a way to. All it is just really talking about your blues and really just saying everything that is making you sad or that's holding you down, and it really just seems like some good therapy. But as far as the music, are we talking about the music in the scene in that beautiful scene where?
I mean, we can get into it if you want. Like, yeah, we can talk about that. That was incredible.
Yeah, it was.
Crazy. Like when I saw that, that's when I got the Lovecraft Country like feel. I was like, oh, this is a familiar feeling. Like these things don't go together, but they do. You know, they clearly are.
Rip walking.
Yeah, like that scene, and I watched this movie with my first video with my coworker who's white. And when we saw it, he was like, that was a little weird, wasn't it? I was like, yeah, because like I've never seen like music done in that way. And I was listening to it like kind of like mentally prepped for while I was at work. I was listening to that part of the score like over and over and over again, because I was like the way he was like Göransson was able to pretty much go through the history of the blues, because for people that don't in the movie, when they talk about griots, this version of griots, griots can with their music can, you know, bring out spirits from the past and in the future. So that scene where like we get that tracking shot of the whole club, and while Sammie's playing his song, and like we see like, you know, some rock, we see like a guy with a guitar that's kind of like Jimi Hendrix, like, you know, like kind of funk vibes. We got like, you know, guys on some turntables of the 80s. We got girls, you know, dancing to house music. Like it was like going through all these genres, like, you know, the crib walking, like, you know, doing gangster rap, like gangster music in the 90s. I was like, this is a beautiful way just to explain that how timeless music is, and also showing like, you know, just the magic of this black music, period, you know. And like when I was watching the documentary, like while I was going into Robert Johnson, because he has a Netflix documentary which I recommend people check out. They talk about how like the blues is pretty much like the sound of like the oppressed, because it was sung in plantations, like, you know, not in, even though it is church influenced, but like it was mostly sung in like plantations. That's where the blues started. So like I love the fact that like, you know, each genre, like funk, like, you know, rap, hip hop, you know, jazz, is all of that together is the genre, is the sound of the oppressed, is the sound of revolution. Like I love that, how that scene with the score and also how it was shot narratively put that together. I thought it was amazing. It was like I was ascending, bro. It was crazy. I was getting goosebumps.
And, because it was so much going on, I couldn't even really focus on the music because I was just like looking at everything, and I was hearing the music, but that's why you got to watch it more than once, because I know when I watch it this time, I would be picking up on so much stuff. Just the fact that you said that makes me want to go like, damn, I really need to check out the musical like switch ups they were probably doing, because it was just like Chinaman over here, a girl twerking right there. It was like, so much, man. So it was a lot to take in. You got to do it the second time at least.
And it was crazy too, because like it wasn't just it wasn't just focusing on because Bo and Grace were there. It also showcased like their ancestry too. I thought that was great. I was like, it is like it's I think it's everyone's favorite scene in the movie. Like everyone has always said it's like the best scene ever because it's just crazy. Like
also, now I also like the one I like the Irishman too, because that one was really it was great. Horrifying. It was informative just to see how they get down in Ireland. You know what I'm saying? Like just that whole, it was very creepy, man. It was like that, and everybody's in a circle. Like that scene, it was almost like on some thriller type vibes, as far as like everybody just kind of in sync. All these ghouls. It was horrifyingly beautiful. You know.
I never thought I'd see a vampire do an Irish jig in my life, and that was amazing.
I've been so hype in my life. Like I knew he was the bad guy, but I was still like, yeah, I didn't get out there for the implication of, but like they were having a time, and that just sounded fun.
Kolbie, you want to say anything about the music at all? I think we were talking too. We were talking like before the podcast about the music and all that in that scene.
I do think I ascended. I saw another plane of existence because he starts playing and I was there, and the music throughout all of it was wonderful.
Oh, it's fantastic.
But that scene itself, and like obviously at first it's just him playing to the joint, and then gradually you just start seeing more and more people. And the first time I saw it, I went with Mikey and I's mutual friend Maddie, and Maddie's a huge music nerd. Is a white woman, but when that scene came up, she literally leaned forward like in her seat, like that's how it had pulled her forward. And that's just how all of it felt. For my second time around, I really like the what is it, Way to Go Lassie song that they sang when Mary went over. I don't know, I loved them, even though I didn't, because like they were literally the worst and they ruined everything.
Yeah.
But like, one of my favorite things is a complex villain, like someone who is multifaceted and also has like, I wouldn't say that Remmick's intentions were good at all, but there's like a logic that you can see, and there's an understanding of what he himself is trying to achieve. And I just found them all fascinating. But it was, all of it was just wonderful. Like every song felt like it was exactly where it needed to be. It
told the story.
It felt like a fever dream. Like you got outside with the vampires dancing in a circle. It's kind of like how when you're in a swimming pool and you like get into the deep end and you can kind of feel, you can't feel the bottom of you slowly stop feeling the bottom of the floor and you start to float. Like it kind of felt like it was just kind of like you're kind of just like free falling through this musical number. Like, what am I looking at right now? This shit, what is going on? You know what I'm saying? Beautiful, man. Pure art.
The scene when they first show up and they start playing together and they're like in sync as they're like moving.
Big Boy Robin Queen.
I was like, did they learn
Big Boy Robin Queen?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like
they lost
creepy as hell.
Very.
Like they put a whole routine together.
It was so weird. But it was like hypnotic, and it was watching it go from just those three, you know, doing their in unison thing to now everyone is in a circle, everyone's dancing, everyone's doing. I love if you look behind him, you can see Mary and Stack and Cornbread, like you can see them all out there like dancing and having like.
It was so weird. Like it was so unsettling. Like this scene, like everyone in sync. Seeing black people do Irish jigging stuff is just like, that's weird.
And also, you know what was funny to me? When they first pulled up to the door trying to get in and they started singing, I expected everybody to be like, "Oh, that shit corny." But then I'm listening to it, I'm like, it's kind of like, it's kind of good. It sounds good. I was expecting for it to be corny, like they gonna make it corny. And then when they played Further Into the Woods, I was like, they kind of going, I fucks with this, you know what I'm saying? So it's like
they're going crazy.
Like this ain't the type of music we play in the juke joint. So I'm like, all right, so would this be something, or would this type of music be something that like they would listen to, just maybe not hear it? Could that be like pop radio, some shit they would listen to if it was like not on the V103 or the black stations? You know what I'm saying? So would that be an accept? I was wondering, like, would that style of music have been something they would have listened to, just not there? You know what I'm saying? Because it was clearly good. It was clearly like when we get past the bias of three white vampires playing this, like, oh shit, this is kind of beautiful, man. It's like it's eerie, the night sky, everything kind of worked to kind of give it this like haunting quality, you know?
Yeah, and Stack's like into it. Like he's like, all right, okay.
Right.
He's like, oh yeah. He wanted to let them in, but he was like, I mean, all right, I see what y'all got. Okay.
Now he was in Chicago.
We'll get into the twins.
He was in Chicago, so he's probably exposed to probably a little bit of that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. But yeah, man, the music great. Like I love that told the story. But I think we should now we can actually talk about character stuff and performances. I listen, all these characters are great. All these performances are really good. So like, yeah, I think we should,
out the park.
Yeah, like so we'll get into it with the character breakdown of this review. But so obviously main characters played by one person, which is crazy. So Elijah Smoke and Elias Stack Moore, played by Michael B. Jordan and Michael C. Jordan. But yeah, I heard that shit. That had me cracking up. Michael C. Jordan. So yeah, listen. I think this is honestly the best performance of Michael B. Jordan's career. And the thing is, like, when I was watching the interviews, especially like Sway's interview that Coogler was on, he gave some insight about, like, you know, the research behind twins. I thought was really cool. And the fact that, like, one, he said that scientifically, like, we don't really know why, like, you know, twins like occur, like why, like, you know, the egg decides to split. Like, that's still a scientific anomaly. That was interesting. How twins have like kind of like a symbiotic relationship, because like twins pretty much have to share everything. Like they share a womb, and when they're born, they pretty much are used to, like, you know, being around each other, sharing from one another all the time. So I thought, like, him like addressing the symbiotic relationship that twins have was really cool. But also one tidbit that he gave was when him and Michael were researching, doing research for this movie, he decided to bring in two of his friends. I think it's like Logan and Cody Miller, I think their names are. But yeah, the friends of his from Oakland, white boys who are also coincidentally filmmakers, and they're identical twins. And one thing that they mentioned that was like, this is really cool, because like in terms of like, as a concept, was the fact that when he noticed that he was walking around, when every time he was hanging out with them, they would always sit like right next to each other, and he pointed it out. He asked him, like, yo, like, you know how the thing you do, like every time we're hanging out, like, you know, and y'all are always sitting right next to each other, or like you're all always next to each other all the time when you're with me, is that for me, is that for you? And they would say, no, that's for you, because people they realize over the years of, like, you know, them growing up as twins, that people feel more comfortable seeing both of them at the same time, and if they feel out they don't like you, like they'll decide to split away from each other, because if anything goes left, like, where's your mom gonna go? Because there's two of you. You know what I mean? I thought that was really interesting, and they did that in the movie, because the first time you see when Stack and Smoke are meeting the clan member, and, like, you know, they're talking about, you know, getting this deal going, and they get that vibe where, like, you know, something about to happen. You see Smoke and Stack start to separate, and I was like, holy shit, he's doing it! Like, it was a really cool tidbit to have to add to it. And also, I think the last point I'll make with the tidbit with twins is that, like, he always says if a twin dies, if one twin siblings dies, the other twin doesn't really last very long. Like something will happen where, like, they'll die, like, shortly after, you know, their twin has passed. Which I thought was really cool. But yeah, man, I thought Michael B. Jordan did a great job.
And also that twin aspect. Not to keep going back to my book, but my book also has twins. The antagonist and his brother. So again, when I read the synopsis, I was sweating bullets. But of course,
and the thing is too,
like, they twins too. Like, what the?
And the thing is too, he even mentioned like, you know, and you probably thought the same way with, you know, with your book with DayBlack, but like in like just in West African mythology, like there's, you know, twin in Yoruba mythology, there's twin deities, you know, so like twins have always been connected with Black people, like I don't know, or just you know, throughout history, like even when he said like, you know, even in Black communities, like there's always a pair of twins like that, you know, that like the community just knows, like, you know, that. So I thought that was like really interesting to take with it, but Michael Jordan did a great job. But again, like I was worried that like you wouldn't, that because we've seen twins in movies before where it's like, you know, like yeah, like, you know, like like the actor will try their best to like kind of differentiate the two, but like they're sometimes they can't give them that much individualism. Like it's a difficult thing to do. But I thought Michael Jordan did a great job because like you can, even though there are moments where like, you know, they have that symbiotic relationship, they're in sync with each other, but because of like subtle changes within like, you know, their characters and their personas, like you can tell Stack and Smoke apart. Like Stack is more like while Coogler like more like in terms of like gangster wise, more rah, like he's a lot more uppity, he's a lot more you know, charismatic, and like, you know, he has a little bit more swag to him, while like Smoke is more calm, collected, cool, which, you know, which he also made it a point where he's just like, yeah, like, you know, in terms of like, you know, in terms of gangsters, like in terms of like gang culture, like the guys who are more uppity don't really last that long, like, you know, who like, you know, either they're dead or in prison like quick, but like the guys you should be scared of are the guys who are more cool, calm, collected, you know, that don't really say much.
Yeah,
I like how
Smoke was the one that was always doing stuff. Like even when the Klan member came, like Stack stood behind him, waiting if something popped off. When the snake, he had passed his knife to Smoke to kill the snake. You know what I'm saying? He shot. So I think that was just a good way to just really set them apart. But yeah,
it was great. I mean, there's more I could say on it. Like, I mean, the fact that also like one twin's better at doing stuff than the other, which Coogler said was a aspect he took away from the research. Like Stack is more business focused, like he's more business driven, he's more, you know, he always has a plan, he's more strategic, while Smoke, that's Smoke. See, it's a little confusing. Stack is more he's more better with people, he's more of a risk taker. Like I like that. Again, like, it added it really helped with the being showcasing the individualism within the Smokestack twins for sure. I loved it. I'll stop talking.
Because you never really thought that, oh, Michael B. Jordan again, Michael B. Jordan. You really looked at them as two separate characters. That's how.
Yeah.
I never once was thinking that it was him playing himself, like, ever.
Yeah. And I'm gonna call Sean out. I'm gonna call because Sean he's a Michael Jordan hater. And I hope after you watch, because he's watching this right now, he's watching the movie. You better not be saying Michael Jordan's a bad actor ever again after this. I swear to God, bro. Like he proved he stepped it up. Again, this is the best performance I've ever seen him do. Yep. Period. Like I can't. Kolbie, you have anything to say on Michael B. Jordan's performance as the twins?
One, Michael B. Jordan is fine as hell. 10 out of 10. Want to put that out of it before I began. I thought that this was a really good performance from him, and I agree. I did not at any point be like, oh, it's Michael B. Jordan. Oh, it's Michael B. Jordan. Like, it was very clear who Smoke was and who Stack was. And I also think their choices in partners was very, like, clear and decisive on who they were, and it really helped the story that was going to end up happening, because ultimately we end up losing both of the twins. But the way in which we lose them is because Stack is more of that risk taker. He knows that, like, he's been in love with this girl, that she's married, but she, you know, she talks him into it. And little old Mary had a mouth on her, I will say. But and obviously Smoke is in love with Annie, and she's kind of similar to him, and she's more level-headed. She's thinking of things. She's the first one to really realize, like, oh, there's something happening. We gotta start prepping, and no one goes outside. No one, which was just so well done, and it was. I also like that there wasn't a lot of focus on, like, putting them together to make it like unnecessary. I like that when they split up and we got to see them apart, and then they come together again, and you realize like the relationship that they have with each other and like the importance. Because I know Smoke mentions like when they're splitting up and Stack goes with Sammie, he's like, watch his back, like, because he can't watch his back.
He can't watch his own. Yeah.
He can't do it. And then everything else happens in such a, and it kind of proves that fact. And it also proves how Smoke, they've been saying, like, he's been taking care of Stack his entire life. He was the firstborn twin. He killed their father because he was putting his hands on Stack.
He was abusive. Yeah.
So, like, he was always that protector person. So him being, like, the final brother, I mean, I guess he wasn't the final brother. But, like, but also just, like, that scene alone where he goes into the room and, like, sees Stack and, like, that was, it didn't even feel like it was the same people. Like, I felt that emotion that Smoke was, like, going through of, like, because he says, what does he say? Like, all the good parts of me were him.
Yeah, all the best part. The best part about me was him. And then even Stack when he turns, like when he's a vampire and wants Smoke to come inside, like, bro, you know for a fact there is no me without you. I was like,
and I just thought that their relationship was so well done because I felt like Stack wasn't necessarily trying to hurt Smoke in like changing him. He was like, I just need you to come with me, like just because I'm sure if he would have been like, here, bite my wrist, I don't think Smoke would have went, or Stack would have went all crazy. I think he would have just bit him and let him turn, and that would have been good enough for him. Because that's why he bit Annie, is because he wanted to convince Smoke to, he was like, if I turn her and then there was her and me, obviously you're going to choose us. But again, Smoke's relationship with Annie and their dynamic is why that wouldn't have worked.
So let me ask you guys this: why? Because so when he stabbed Annie in the chest, why do y'all think everybody was like, no?
I have a feeling that they felt it, and it felt like, at least for Mary, like, I know that they were friends. I noticed that the second time, like, how distraught Mary seemed.
Yeah.
And, like, I know that Stack was mad because he was like, why would you go and do that? You went and killed Mary. And it sounded like it came from a place of, like, we're all friends. Like,
yeah.
Like,
well, that's exactly what it was because
but I think
Annie said that they were family.
I was like, no, even the white vampire was like, didn't want them to kill her.
Yeah, because I think that if you notice, because once that happened, Stack and Mary was out. They left everybody else. I honestly believe that Stack wanted just to, like, he would have broke off from the group and he wanted just the four of them to be together forever.
Yeah.
Like, just his family. He ain't really give a shit about like all the other vampires, because once his brother killed Annie, he was like, let's go. And they brought it out.
He was like, if he's gonna kill Annie, we can't get him. Like, we gotta go.
Yep.
And that moment kind of like gave me an idea of, like, you know, like what Coogler's rendition of vampires are like, because obviously vampires have been interpreted very different ways in terms of, like, are they human? They're undead, but, like, do they have a soul? Do they care? Blah blah blah. Like, he was playing with vampire logic, which I liked. Real quick though, let's say hi to Sarah real quick because she says hi. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Sarah. I love you.
Also, Sarah, leave. I don't know if you watched the movie or not. Leave, please. We're talking spoilers here. But yeah, I really like this performance was so good. I think it's one of the aspects, one of the overall themes of this movie, which I thought were really well expressed when it comes to Stack and Smoke, and a few of the other characters, specifically Stack, Smoke, Sammie, and Remmick. The idea, the concept of freedom, what freedom means to them, because I like the fact that, like, Smoke's version of freedom is pretty much like how we, when he's talking to Annie about his version of freedom, is just having something to call his own, but through, like, business and wealth, because that's how he's perceived. That's how these white folks have freedom, is through power, control, and money. But Stack is on the opposite end of the spectrum, where like he deems freedom as like taking chances in life, taking risks, being around like the people, like being more like having a safe place to belong. Like he was more like Smoke was more rigid. Stack was more like free flowing in terms of like what their ideas of freedom are. So I really thought was really cool. Yeah, I don't really nothing else. I have probably lots more to say, but I think we should probably move on. But any more thoughts on Smoke or Stack? I mean, well, obviously we can chime more in later on.
I have something. This is off topic, but unfortunately, I have to roll.
Okay, bro, you're good. You're good.
I love the discussion. This was great. This is a great thing, but I have to roll. I'm sorry.
All right, bro. Y'all good. All right, man. Take care. Appreciate you. And again, it was a great point of the conversation, bro. Appreciate you.
Yep. Appreciate y'all.
Right, peace.
Good meeting you too.
You too.
I'll give you the boot. All right, here we go. So, all right. So let's just move on right quick. So, Sammie and Delta Slim, played by Miles Caton and Delroy Lindo. So Sammie, off rip, my favorite character. I related the most to this character out of them all. Love the fact that his idea of freedom, just going on the theme of freedom, was to pursue his passion for music, to live, to take control of his own life. And I thought I really related to his arc a lot due to that aspects of his father's parental pressure to have him abandon his passions to pursue the church. I thought that was really relatable to me personally as an artist myself. I thought Sammie was great. I thought Miles kind of did a wonderful job, and with not just with the performances, because again he has an amazing voice. Like the soul in this kid is crazy. But he proved himself as an actor too. I thought he was a really good. He did a really good performance, and the fact that I was shocked that this was his first role. Period. I thought this kid was a seasoned actor. So, and also like I put in the photo here. Like I thought his story was kind of like an homage to Robert Johnson, like what Mike said earlier. Blues singer, legend. Legend was he was a terrible guitarist. Went to the crossroads. Asked the devil the devil appeared. Asked him to tune his guitar. And then he became like the best blues player ever. I thought he was kind of a big parallel with that, because what his dad said, like if he kept playing the devil's music, the devil's gonna follow him home. And then pretty much the devil did show up in the form of Remmick and the vampires. And that was a crucible for him, to set a path on to have him have control on his own life, because he wants to live what his cousins lived through. Leave the Delta, go out to pursue life on their own terms. And I love that journey of of his arc throughout the whole movie, and how he actually eventually pursued that through the horrors of vampires and people getting murdered and shit. But I thought that was great. What are your thoughts on Sammie to start off?
Yeah, I thought the most impressive thing to me about that he learned guitar to play this role. Like he learned this role, so for me that was already like wow. He was good. He just felt like he felt like he was the audience. He felt like we were seeing everything through we were like seeing everything through him. His voice was uncanny.
Uncanny.
Yeah. Actually, his voice is so deep. When I hear people say he should play Miles Morales, I'm like, that would be he could like, hey, what's up about that, Miles?
Yeah, you sound like Pop Smoke. It's gonna be crazy.
Right, it's just a little too deep. You know what I'm saying? That would be my biggest gripe with that. But he was good, man. It was an understated performance. You know what I'm saying? I think he shined when he sang.
Mm-hmm.
I have no complaints, man.
All right.
For his first movie, he's on his way after this.
He has a career. He has a future. For
like
sure.
What more can you ask for your first movie to be?
Mm-hmm. Kolbie, what do you think? What do you think of Sammie?
Sammie broke me. Like I said, that scene of him collect, like when I think about it, my eyes start watering. When I saw it for the first time, that scene made me like bawl my eyes out. We left the theater. My partner went to the bathroom. Maddie and I were sitting on a bench, and I was just sitting there. I had stopped crying. I thought about that scene of him clutching that guitar again, broke down in tears. Like, he conveyed his desire and like to create, to be free of like so many other things, like the constraints of his father, the constraints of his race. Like, he was wonderful. Like, Michael B. Jordan was obviously like very good, obviously, but I think that Miles Caton made the movie. I think he, for me at least, was the most instrumental piece. Instrumental being, you know, the pejorative term. But it's just like, yeah. I could not imagine anyone else being Sammie.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I mean, he
No,
I'm not gonna lie. Throughout the movie, I was waiting for him to be like, "I need a dollar." Does anybody remember that song? I'm sorry if anybody don't know it.
No. I do.
Like, this young Aloe Black man. That's all he needs to say.
Yeah. I also, the fact that he was on tour with her, and
yeah, that's how he got the role.
She's the one who told him to audition.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, cool.
And
because he's like a musical prodigy. Like he's at a very young age. He's like a musical prodigy and toured with her and her.
And now he plays the guitar just based off of a movie role. Just pull another added chamber to your arsenal. You know.
I low-key want him to just make more. I want to make an album or something. Him just singing blues, man. I love the way he's a natural at it. He's a natural at it.
Yeah, like what if they had a companion piece blues album? He just had his own blues album to go with the movie. Like what they did, they gave Kendrick Lamar a whole album for Black Panther, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That would be crazy.
But yeah, Sammie's great. But what are your thoughts on Delta Slim? I thought it's Delroy Lindo. I mean, he killed it. He's so funny. So funny. Oh my Lord. Every scene he was in, he stole, had me laughing. But yeah, I thought he was a really good like supporting component to it all as well. I mean, we pretty much talked a lot about him already, but I love Delroy Lindo in this movie, man. I hope he gets like a best support. I mean, I can see like a best supporting actor nomination for him for this. Like I thought this was really good.
The way they did him, what's the Spike Lee movie that came out where he was in, where they were like
The Five Bloods?
Yeah, like they didn't even give him no love for that. I'm like, man, I'd be surprised if they give it to him this time, but he deserves it every time. He's deserved it so many times before any of these movies came out. But he's just one of them type of actors that just carries so much. He don't even have to say anything. Like you can just look at his expression on his face, a glance to the right or the left, or anything. Just like that one scene where I think Cornbread was trying to get in, and he just took a swig of his bottle like he was just watching it go down. I was like, that's just, you can't teach that, man. That's just him, you know.
The scene where like, you know, where Sammie's where Smoke sends Sammie to go get Stack, and like Stack, you know, he's getting it on with Mary, and then he's like, oh yeah, like, oh, you see Stack, oh, you're right over there, and then he opens the door, he's like, oh shit, close it, he's like, they busy, huh? I was like,
right. Exactly.
Hilarious, man. It's
everybody's like uncle. Everybody know that guy, you know.
Also, the scene where Cornbread is trying to get paid, and which I assume we might talk about Cornbread, but the fact that he put his hand right here, it was like, give me my money.
Right.
But when he like tried to grab him, and then they go back inside, and he's like, y'all, I think I shit myself. Like, we're at such a tense moment, and he was able to like break through every time. Because there's also the scene where they're all taking the garlic, and he starts acting a fool. Which is
a nod to The Thing, by the way, which I loved. I was like, that's awesome. Yeah.
It sure is. I didn't even think about that. You are right, man. Damn.
Yeah, it's a nod to The Thing. I was like, that's so dope. Yeah, when he's like eating the garlic, and everyone's like, oh shit. He's like turning. He's like, nah, my nervous system shot. Been drinking too much.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and I love also like the way, like, you know, where his arc concluded, where he sacrificed himself. Like when, you know, the vampires came in, I was like, damn, man. Not only Delta Slim.
Like, I know we saw what's her name. The one that
Pearline came back. I didn't see him come back. I think he just got eaten alive.
Ate him.
Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, he went out like a champ, honestly. But yeah, I love both these characters are great. I just love both these characters. Yeah, I think we should move on to the next two. But yeah, Annie and Mary, the loves of the twins. And these characters are both great. Especially with Mary. Mary kind of introduces a topic that very complicated, very complex, but I like how we're more talking about the whole freedom, overarching freedom theme. I love how like both of these women, the two love interests that both these twins, love, kind of showcase their own version of freedom, where it's like Annie's more freedom with culture and tradition, while Mary is more freedom with identity, because obviously Annie is more she is focusing more on the hoodoo religion, the hoodoo practice and Ifa practice, and is our guide to when the vampire stuff kicks in. She's the one telling us giving the lore dump and the of how vampires work. And I love the fact that originally she was like, she thought they were haints at first, and if people don't know what haint is in in hoodoo or in southern in southern Black American folklore, haints are kind of like their version of ghosts, pretty much. But then she obviously goes into vampires and gives in her perspective. But I thought Wumni Mosaku did a great job again. She was in Lovecraft Country. That's my first intro to her. She was great in Lovecraft Country, and I thought she shined here. And I thought her chemistry with Michael B. Jordan, with Stack, with Smoke, with Michael B. Jordan, that was really good. And yeah, man, I thought she was great. Any thoughts on Annie, real quick?
Well, so Kolbie, Annie to me is what Michael B. Jordan is to you. Like, ever since I seen her at Lovecraft, and what I really love about it is that for her to be a leading lady, like you don't see leading ladies like that. Dark skin,
voluptuous, dark skin,
confident, you know what I'm saying, in charge, you know what I'm saying. And then you got Mary, who's the polar opposite of that, at least visually. She's more of the classic leading lady who you would assume would be the leading lady or whatever. But but it's two Michael Jordan, so you got two leading ladies, and I just love how they're like literally opposites in so many ways. But I think man, she was my favorite. And Annie was my favorite character in the movie. Yeah, just because she just got me just on the basic level, first of all, just out the gate. But I really loved how when Michael B. Jordan came back to see her finally, he was giving respects to their baby. It was just like so much that she got out of the way first. Like, we have to tend to this business before to actually enjoy each other intimately. You know what I'm saying? Like, she was really grilling. Like, for a minute, I wasn't even sure what the relationship was until got to talking, and shit kind of unfolded like naturally and really organically. And then it was like, damn, she really just, she had to make sure she got all this business out the way. It's like, all right, now you can get some. You know what I'm saying? But just her whole, I just love her, man. I can't say enough about her, man. I love her.
And it's interesting just to add on to that, like her, because her look is kind of associated in films of the past, like the mammy stereotype, and the fact that they they've Coogler again flipped that around and was having her, because a mammy is more of she has she's the wisdom, has the more mystical wisdom, but with Annie, it was she took more charge, especially when they have that intimate scene together. She was leading, which you don't see that in someone getting that aesthetic at all. Which was great. But again, when she, I love that aspect where he took that typical Black film stereotype and flipped it on its head. I thought that was great with Annie.
Because there was a time where Mary, back even in the Black movies in the 90s, the lead was going to be a light-skinned Black girl. That was just going to be it. It was going to be Halle Berry, it was going to be Lila Rashad, it was going to be all of these different light-skinned women. So, yeah, he could have easily done that, So but then this is the same guy that brought the Dora Milaje to us. So we already know how he does with Black women and Black representation. That's why I feel like whenever they bring Storm out, I feel like he needs to be the one to usher Storm out, man. The universe. It needs to be under his watch some kind of way.
Exactly.
He needs to set the tone for everything after that. You know.
Yeah, anything related to black people needs to go to Ryan Coogler.
Exactly.
I don't need a poor white person to write, think about, consider. No, I don't want it.
Yes, fair enough.
And he's proven. And he's proven that he can do it. I'm like, I don't know why they would go to anybody else. You know.
Mm-hmm.
He should be like the Tony of black characters in the MCU. You know.
These ladies were freaky, and I think that. I think that they were, because I just feel like women and their sexuality and their, you know, in the desire, like it's never supposed to be showcased in that way. And again, I would say that both of these women in both of their relationships with these two very strong, powerful, used to be gangsters, both of them really take the lead in different ways. Annie immediately going into that with "your body ain't forget me." Whoa. It was crazy.
It was crazy.
Like, she was talking to him all type of crazy, or Mary was talking to Stack all crazy. Like, we are in public at a train station. Like, like that right now. Plus, in my mind at least, I'm like, I love how when she showed up, they were like, or Sammie was like, "There's a white girl looking at you."
There's a white woman right behind you.
He was like, "Oh crap! Like, don't look, like, don't look her in the eye." And then it was just like they were both very good. I took issue with Mary just because I feel like she was the pinnacle of the problem. Like,
that was intentional.
And then ultimately, like, obviously, like, because she was already she was already trusted. And I mean, she was turned, so she can't be expected to, like, hold the same morals. But it was like, because she was already, like, the exception into that safe space, ultimately led to everything else. And, like, I understand, like, oh, her grandfather was half black. But, like, I don't.
That's what I'm saying. It's complex. It's a complex topic. You know,
I think she knew that. I think because it's just like Stack's character. I think she knew that Stack want whatever fly. He want to be fly. Whatever's the new hot shit, and he knows that you got to get some white people on your team if you really gonna be. You know what I'm saying? So I'm thinking he's like, because at first he was like, "Nah, don't do that," but then he was like, "Yeah, go ahead, see what they talking about," just to see kind of. It almost felt like he was kind of pimping her just a little bit, a light pimping on her to just go out there and just kind of see what was up with him. But I feel like it was all to be with some kind of white adjacentness. You know what I'm saying? Or just, we turn them away, but at the same time, it might not be a bad look for them to be in here. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man.
I mean, with Mary, I think it's I was fantastic, Frankie. I just saw a clip of it before we started. Made a really good point with Mary, where shout out to Hailee Steinfeld. She did an amazing job with the role. But with Mary, because Mary introduces the concept of, you know, like the 1-drop rule. And people that don't know, the 1-drop rule is like, if you have any ounce of black, you know, blood in your family, you are considered by law, like Jim Crow law, as black. So, and this is actually, it's interesting because, you know, they actually, Coogler actually used Hailee's actual personal, like, family history with this role, because people that don't know, Hailee Steinfeld, her maternal grandfather, her mom's dad is mixed. He's half black, half Filipino. And they incorporated that in this movie where, you know, like what Kolbie said, that her grandfather was half black. And, like, I'm gonna say it, like, in terms of the context of the film, obviously, like, not saying Hailee Steinfeld herself doesn't identify as black, but Mary in the film is a black woman, like, contextually, because even though her mother's half black, she was raised in the black community amongst black people, even though, again, it goes into the idea of passing, you know, because there were mixed race people back, you know, in Jim Crow era, you know, that had to make the decision to either live as a black person, as a black person, and, you know, deal with, you know, the repercussions of, you know, being put in that box, or to pass as a white person, because being white mean that you being passed as being white would lead you to live more comfortably. So the fact that, you know, they introduced that topic. Again, it's a very complex topic, you know. With Mary, that was great, but the idea where it's like with her and Smoke, her and Stack, because and Stack knew because you know she was, even though she is considered black, even though they also did know that she could pass. Like they did know that, like they weren't like saying, oh, she's a black girl through and through, which I mean, you know, culturally she is, but like they knew that like she could have opportunities outside of where they come from, and the fact that she moved to Arkansas to marry a white man to have her, you know, live her life as a white woman was for her safety. That was interesting, and the fact when she gets welcomed back into a predominantly black space that she hasn't been in years, she forgot that, you know, the fact that like, you know, because of a white woman being in this space, there are repercussions to that. That she forgot that those rules. She forgot about you know her, the rules of her existence amongst these people, you know, apply. You know, because she's left that part of her life for Arkansas. So it made sense for her to be the one to make things go awry within this community gathering. So like I thought that was a great narrative device with her character.
It makes sense. It just pisses me off. Like,
it just makes you mad.
It just makes me mad. But like I understand. But also I wasn't sure, because I don't know if they discuss it. Like I wasn't sure exactly where their ties began. Like I wasn't sure if they, because I assumed that she was white adjacent. I wasn't like, did they grow up on a plantation? Like what? I wasn't sure, because also I know she says like her mom nursed the twins, which is very uncommon, even though I guess her mom's been considered black, because so it's like, where were they exactly?
Yeah. And then like she said that like because of their abusive father, like they left and then they lived under her mom's roof and kind of helped raise them. It was interesting to have that history with those characters. And also the fact that like, you know, even like when she comes back into their lives, they're abrasive about it, because it's like, yeah, well, more so Smoke than Stack, obviously, but they're just like, yeah, no, this could, like, her being here is just trouble, like just due to the environment that they're around. I thought that was
And it was
so
that they thought it would be, but it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it was, these characters are dope, and also it's just like seeing Hailee Steinfeld. Like, she's one of my crushes, but I've never seen this side of her performing this way, being like seductive and just like, you know, more. I thought it was crazy. I thought it was amazing. I actually transformed in this movie for sure.
Her asking Stack if he wanted some of her drool. I was like, oh, crazy. Y'all getting freaky.
And I
wasn't a fan of drool. I can't lie.
I like the idea that vampires like drool. I had drool.
It was just gross.
In media. So I liked the idea that they kind of like start to salivate at the thought of it.
That was some of the details that I enjoyed with him exploring with the vampire lore. But I was talking to Seamus, like, when we talking about that moment, we're just like, yo, like, because like make vampires freaky again. Let's do it, because they haven't been freaky since Blade, and Twilight and all those other movies ruined it. So
right, when you're in the heat of the moment, you might drink a little drool. Fuck it, you know.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, I bet if it was Hailee Steinfeld, Mikey would be into it.
Oh.
Right.
Exactly. You don't want to say it online because you know.
I'm not gonna say it online, but.
Yeah.
But overall, both these characters are great. And again, just great performances from both of these two, for real. Like, it was incredible. All right, we'll talk about the villain, because the villain, I think, is we talk about him here and there, but he's very important. But Remmick, played by Jack O'Connell. And Jack O'Connell, amazing performance. It's like when I was watching this, I was like, I feel like I've known him from somewhere. Like I couldn't put my finger on it, so I had to dig a little deeper. I was so shocked to find out I thought this was my first time seeing this actor, but I've actually seen him in a show that came out in 2000s that I'm a huge fan of, a British show called Skins. He was a character called Cook in Skins, and I was so shocked, like, this is Cook. Like, that's the only role I've ever seen him in. So I was like, I was very very impressed. with his performance. But yeah, like going into this, like again, he's the vampire element. He's the main villain. I think it's like I kind of blame Jordan Peele for this, honestly. I was going into this movie being like, yo, obviously the vampires are gonna be some racist ass vampires. Let's go. Reality, like, you know, Remmick wasn't racist at all. Like, if you think about it, he really wasn't. Like, well, that was interesting. Because like again, his version of he like with the twins, you know, a version of freedom, like, you know, obviously, like, you know, the twins, like, you know, the big theme being the community that these people have built in their hellish environment. That's inevitably what Remmick wanted. He wanted a flock. He wanted people like him that he could confide in and, you know, be unified by. And I loved that. I thought it was so interesting. Like that he wants the exact same thing that these people want, but he's gonna take a more dastardly approach to it. I thought that was really good. And also, yeah, like we said earlier, like, you know, Puss in Boots, the inspiration, like, you know, Ryan Coogler said that was a massive inspiration, was the character of Death in that movie. Because the eyes, the visual aspect of the eyes, you know, obviously Remmick also has those. I love the way they do the eyes for the vampires. It's like really cool. Like, it's kind of like it's like a kind of like it's showcasing, like, you know, like the hollowed aspect of the souls that you see through their eyes. I thought it was really good. But also, like he said, like even like the calm demeanor of Death in the Puss in Boots movie, he utilized for the character of Remmick, because Remmick, when you meet him, he seems like actually a really nice personal guy when like when he shows up at the juke joint. But like, you know, when you get to know him, you throughout the course of the movie, you realize what he truly is like this fucking monster, you know. But I loved it, and also that fact that he's Irish too, which I was a great historical reference, because people don't know their history with racism and segregation. The Irish were also a community that were segregated, were segregated, and were discriminated against back then. They had their own separate bathrooms from white people, from white Americans. That was great. And so I love the fact that Coogler used that part of history to have a reason to why Remmick is drawn and is drawn to and is more comfortable around Black people, because he comes from a background that has also experienced what they've experienced, maybe to a more minuscule degree, but still prejudice and racism all the same. So I thought that was great. But yeah, what were your thoughts on Remmick, you guys?
Well, first time I saw him, I was immediately thought like, oh, white people gonna love this, like Irish people, because they love bringing up, well, the Irish, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, okay, they gonna love this shit. But aside from that, I really liked his character. I really liked his approach, because he was never like just, oh, I'm so hungry, I just want to kill y'all. Like, he just really a clear and concise reason to be there. And he's like, if y'all gonna die, so be it. But I really just want him, you know. And it never really felt desperate or like and I feel like he wouldn't have killed anybody. Like you said, if they would have given him Sammie, it would have been over with. So, and I like the things he was saying was definitely, they could have been manipulative. They could have been saying it just to win them over. You know what I'm saying? If it didn't feel like that, it felt like he really kind of felt like that, and he really had like genuine empathy for the Black Americans. So that kind of resonated with me. The actor just did a great job, just alluring, just charismatic. I never really felt really evil to me. No. Just dastardly evil. Just maybe he just seemed determined. And when Big Mike was talking about a cult earlier, he seemed like a cult leader. Like when the cult, they're like, yeah, come join, it's great over here. Like, yeah, that they all kind of had that, like, yeah, this is like, it really did feel like a cult, but he felt like a true cult leader. So, and
he genuinely, like, going out of the cult aspect, he genuinely thought him turning people into vampires was a way to help them be free, even though it was a more monsterly, more darker approach to it. I thought that was really interesting. I was like, this is so, it makes the character more layered.
I mean, it's debatable. Would that life have been better than to be a Black at time, than to be immortal and pretty much invincible?
Like put it this way. Like, what's the point of making like how bad is making a deal with the devil when you're already living in hell? Like
you know,
I mean, listen, if I would have got turned, a lot of racist white folk would have got Eve. Like I understand the appeal of being, and that's why I say I'm not someone who thinks that I could be like indoctrinated into a cult, but I feel like in this time period and with what he was offering, I could have been swayed just for the simple fact of what we would have already been living through, and having the power and ability to like stop that, and especially stop it for like my people. Like, I'm going to whole plantations and wiping out families. Like, we're done. We're set. Like, I also would want, like, I think I would want to do what like Stack and Mayor, like I might be down for the Irish jig. I might stay for that. But then like I got stuff to do. Like, I feel like this would be a part of my greater, even though the concept of living forever doesn't really sound too appealing to me, but I thought he was wonderful. And he was like, I love every time he said Sammie, he was just like, Sammie. Like, he was silly, kind of, but he was very scary, but he was charismatic. Like I said, I love.
Like, look at that smile, yo. Like that shot is just like it's super creepy and like sinister.
Yeah, when he hears what's her name, Grace, say "come on in," and he just has this little smile and he like tilts back. I mean, I don't know. I might have went out there. I don't know.
You would have went. Yeah, you would.
I don't know.
You would.
He was so good.
Well, in terms of the vampire stuff, one of the things I was like, it's a nitpick, kind of a dislike. I did think that some of the I wanted to see a little bit more nuances with the vampire, with his with the vampire stuff in this. Like, again, it's typical, like the trope. Like, you did a lot of like the typical tropes, like, you know, the garlic, the silver, steaks, all that stuff. But and the invitation aspect, of course. But I did like some of the little details he did add to make it a little bit, you know, unique to the story. Where, again, like the drool aspect, I thought that was interesting. I thought, you know, the eyes, that was interesting. One thing I thought was really dope, which again, like, you know, and one of the parts I wish we got a little more of was the scene where we get introduced to Remmick with the Choctaw Native Americans that come and try to hunt him. I wish we got a little bit more of that aspect of it, but
So, okay.
I don't know if you guys noticed, but when they're looking for him in the okay, we're back. All right. So when we see him go in the house, I don't know if you guys noticed, but like when you see the Choctaw go to the house, you see those vultures circle on the house, like, you know, above the house, because, you know, vultures are attracted to dead things. So I was like, oh, that's a cool way to indicate a vampire is, like, if there are vultures around, like, you'll know a vampire is in the vicinity. I like that aspect of that.
Hey.
What were you saying, Keith?
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say that's what I didn't want to talk about earlier in the podcast. That's the scene that had me check out for a minute, because in my comic, all Mexicans are vampire hunters. And
nice.
So Mexicans and Native Americans like peas in the same pod. So when I saw that, I thought they find, because I had never seen anybody do that before, and I thought that was strictly my own idea. And so that's why I'm so glad they didn't expound on it. When the rest of the movie was over, I was like, thank God, because I still got room. And that's the thing, like, even if DayBlack were to come out tomorrow, people are still going to be like, oh, Ryan Coogler did it first, like, come another block. Even though my book came out in 2013, you know what I'm saying? But still got to deal with that. But just to say, that's the scene I was talking about. And I think it would have been so much richer if they had expounded on that, or if the Native Americans had shown up sometime during the massacre, and like, it could have been so much magic with that, like with that whole with them fighting or even becoming possessed. Anything. I thought that was a missed opportunity. Although I'm glad he didn't do it. But yeah,
for sure.
There was I had it and then I just lost it. I love the scene that he's introduced, because he's kind of like falling. Like, it's kind of like he's dropped, and it really gives that fallen angel, like the devil. He's like, you don't see him being chased. You don't see him interacting with he literally jumps or falls down and like almost falls over, because he's like, hits the ground and then runs. So I really like that that's like there wasn't like a bogged down introduction to vampires. I also love that like we have that opening scene where they're going into the mythology and the history and the hoodoo and then so much other stuff happens and then we see a vampire. And it's like we know that there's gonna be a vampire, but like it's not, again, I would not call it a vampire movie.
Like, exactly. It's just a movie with vampires. And one aspect that I liked, especially with that scene in particular, where Coogler talked about this, and I saw it in some interviews and some reviews too that people mentioned this, but when we see Remmick, when he's like pleading to those racist white folks, like he talks in South Carolina and like Northern Carolina, like a Carolinian accent, and it's that idea where like Coogler's talking about like with Death in Puss in Boots, we don't really know who he is until later on, until we learn more about the character. And I like the fact that like because when in the Jim Crow South, like everyone's being put into boxes, due to the color of their skin. So I like the fact that when that couple sees him and he's pleading for his life, they say they immediately put him in that box where it's like, oh, okay, white guy pleading for his life from Native Americans who are pushed out of Mississippi at this time, talking in the Carolina accent. Okay, he's one of us, who can trust him. When in reality, obviously, we know he's something much more sinister than he appears to be. I like that aspect of, how we learn that he's not who he appears to be. He's not what he seems.
In that scene, like where they realize, like, oh, there's a baby crib, and who did he eat the baby?
I didn't even notice that. Okay.
A crib.
Oh, I didn't.
Like, he's sitting in a rocking chair. And the guy is on the ground, but there's a crib there, and he is. I think he ate their baby, and then like killed the other guy, because there is a crib in that scene. When you see it again, there is a crib, and I'm like, why?
I did not know
because he
that.
said it. He's also like in a rocking chair, so it's clearly that it's like a nursery.
Wow.
I didn't even. Wow. Okay.
I think he ate that baby.
That's crazy.
No question about it.
But yeah, Remmick is a great character, and also like when Remmick gets more comfortable, like later on when especially during the vampire raid in that scene we talked about earlier, where he confronts Sammie in that water, and they're saying the prayer, like he gets more into his Irish accent later on. I was like gets more comfortable with who he appears to be. I thought that was who he is. I thought that was great. But man, Jack.
Whenever you have like a relatively unknown actor with a role like that, it's much easier to get immersed in that performance and not bogged down by who they are. So he really feels like he's Remmick. You know what I'm saying? Not Tom Cruise playing Remmick, but it's Remmick.
Exactly. Yeah. But Jack O'Connell killed it. I mean, I'm proud of this man. I haven't seen him since Skins, and he was a teenager in that. So like, I'm just like, look at him, man. Look at him go. He's amazing actor, amazing performance. But yeah, so last set of characters, and then we'll close it out. So we're gonna talk about the three, I guess, like supporting characters. But Grace Chow, played by Lee Jun Lee, Pearline, played by Jayme Lawson, and Cornbread, played by Omar Miller. And I loved Grace the most out of these three person. I mean, Bo, I did like Bo, but like Grace had more of a bigger role than Bo, I think, in my opinion. In my opinion. I figured that was the case. But with Grace, I thought Grace was interesting. Well, Grace and Bo and the whole Chow family was interesting because again, this is when it comes to the history of it, like I didn't know this, that there was a big community of Chinese immigrant Chinese Americans in the Mississippi Delta at this time. So I did like the fact that that they got that Coogler wanted to represent them as well. That was great. But also the fact that in this time in the Jim Crow era with Asians, Asian Americans and Asian immigrants being in the mix, that obviously that Asians weren't really accepted by weren't really accepted by whites and or blacks, but because they're in between, they were the bridge between both communities in a way. And that was a really good, and that was kind of addressed when we got introduced to them again with the whole shot of seeing the different the different chow stores. I thought that was great, but also because it kind of goes into the. I thought it was really interesting because when it comes in terms of like the whole idea of like the model minority, where like even though the chows knew the smokestack twins and were friendly with them, I felt like where I got it was like they didn't really care about the actual like community aspect of it, even though they are a part of the community, but like they were mostly trying to do this as a business opportunity rather than like trying to like put on like trying to have a good time like everyone else was, in my opinion. So I thought that was really good to address that. But yeah, what were your thoughts on Grace Chow?
Well, I'll say I immediately noticed like when they had the two shops across from each other. I'm like, this is just how it is today. Like you'll go to a strip mall and it'll be an American deli, and then right across it'll be another Chinese restaurant, and they're like brothers or they're married. And like this is a tale as old as time as far as Chinese or Korean immigrants coming over and just kind of having multiple businesses and just really sticking together and expanding. So it was cool to see that in that early stage. That's just apparently that was just a formula or a blueprint that they kind of just took over the years. And I would say, yeah, I agree with you. She was there. They weren't there to hang out. They were there. It was a business opportunity. And I think that culture in itself is so tight knit. And I think they wouldn't let Black people in like that. You know what I'm saying? To really, like, we could be cool, but it's really about us. You know what I'm saying? Else. So even when I heard some people have some criticism because she wanted to leave and she wanted to go, she was like, y'all not doing anything. And somebody was like, yeah, that's how they do. They want to hang out with us, but when it's time to fight for us, they want to leave. But I'm not saying, but her kid is out there. She's trying to get to her daughter. It's like, I told her, I would be the same. I'm like, fuck all you drunk people. I'm trying to get home. I'm not trying to stay here and fight with y'all. But another thing that I'm just a little confused about, I saw it one time. And I'm trying to think the scene where they just opened up the big gate door and let everybody in. I'm like, why did they do that? Because I'm like, because I never heard them say, y'all can come in. They just opened the door and they just spilled in. And I was like, did I miss something? Did somebody say y'all can come in? Because the whole time they couldn't come in because they had to be invited.
Grace did.
Grace did it.
Let them in.
Grace was the one. Yeah.
She said come in?
She said
come in, motherfuckers. And then it's like you
stop her.
Yeah, they tried to stop her. Like Smoke grabbed her and covered her mouth because he knew she was gonna say it, and she bit him. And then the thing is, it made sense because
she immediately dies. Like she throws him all the time.
She went out crazy,
and then gets lit on fire and is like, she killed one vampire.
She killed Bo. It was Bo.
It was Bo.
Yeah. The first person she went after was her husband. Like she wanted to free her husband from
Wow.
I thought that was kind of poetic.
Immediately they go up in flames, so I didn't really even see who she got. I just know.
Yeah, it's hard to see. I noticed that my second viewing yesterday. I was like, oh yeah, it was Bo that she went after. But yeah, I love the fact that it was because like again like symbolically like they're kind of the bridge between this community about of the community. Even though they had their own intentions, but it made sense that Grace was the person symbolically to be the one to like put the nail in the coffin with this with what they built. I thought that was really poetic. I was like, that's really interesting. But Lee Jun-Lee, who I've seen in a bunch of stuff, she's great. She did a really good job.
And I was gonna say, I wonder if she would have did the same thing if this all took place inside of one of their stores.
True. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe
but that's good. But that might be getting a little too deep. I've also heard, and just on little conspiracy theories, I've also heard the analogy that the movie was about not letting white people into our culture when they try to come in. Like when they were playing their music, it was like, no, we're not letting them in to get this blues or to assimilate this. The whole house was a metaphor for Black culture in general. And so I thought that was interesting.
And I also found that very interesting, and I feel like in the recent climate of things, there's been talk of like, oh, they try to bring back segregation. And again, I've already said that I have a white partner, but I've also already told her if I'm going somewhere and it's only you can't come, I'm so sorry. Like, love you, I care about you, but at the end of the day, I am a Black person first, and I want to put my people first. I'm not trying to be the one person that brings in someone that might, even though I trust my partner, I trust that they would, but it's not about me and my partner. It's about all of us and making sure all of us feel safe. Right. And if you're with the right person, your partner will not take offense to that. Because she's literally been like, all right, I'll see you when you come back. Like, that's like, it's, no, I was so pissed off. And I understand why she did what she did, because he already got her husband. He had all of her thoughts, or his thoughts. And like, again, I'm not a parent, but I know that I'm 99% sure that if one of my parents would have been in that situation, they would have been out that door, just trying to get to me. Like, because that's just like her husband's already out there. Like, he can very easily go and get Lisa. Yeah. But it's also important. Like, Remmick only wanted Sammie. I don't know if he would have actually done that, and if that was just him trying to like incite her rage. But I mean, ultimately, two people that wasn't necessarily a part of the culture led to everything going wrong.
Yeah. True.
I didn't even think about that, but yeah.
Like, literally two people that was not a part of the culture, or at least like Mary wasn't involved because she was in Arkansas with her white husband, led to the demise of literally everyone.
Yeah.
And
and
to ain't gonna be me.
To Grace's point, though, she also did mention that, like, we also have to stop them from, like, getting to the town, too, even though she was caring more about her daughter first. But, like, she also mentioned, like, they could spill in the town and kill everybody. Like, you know, like, but granted, would Remmick have done that? Because, again, he only wanted Sammie, so.
Yeah, so it's really, like, you don't know, and there wasn't really an opportunity to see what would happen. But it was just, like, this is why, like, we don't open up our space so easily, even though they obviously had long-standing history, have been friends forever, so it makes sense why they were there. As it makes sense of why, well, I guess it makes sense why Mary was there, but again, they ain't even want her there. They were like, you need to leave.
Right.
And I think what I found so frustrating was, like, the fact that they were already saying, like, it is a liability for you to be here, and her just pushing that. And I understand, but at the end of the day, look what happened.
For sure. Yeah, I know. It makes me. It's a lot.
Makes me angry.
It's a lot. Yeah, but
with you, as soon as Grace would have started talking, she would have got a chair over the head or like something in the back. Like she just needed to be knocked out. Like there's no, because there's other people here. Like it just makes me so mad. It makes me so mad.
To move on right quick though, any thoughts on Pearline or Cornbread? Because like they have their roles weren't as I think as significant. That's why they're on this slide. But
I like her and Sammie were very cute. I loved it when she's introduced and she's like, "I'm married," and he's like, "Happily." I was like, "Ooh,
bruh," I was so shocked that like, and I love how Coogler wrote the way he wrote Sammie and Pearline's relationship. I was like Sammie's a church boy and he's sitting like crazy. You know what I mean?
You're a PK. That's how the PKs are, man.
And
true.
And also, I didn't realize in the beginning. I caught on very quickly what Stack was telling Sammie about. With
I caught that yesterday. I was like, is this man talking about him?
Yeah, I caught it, and then I was like, oh, all I know is Ryan Coogler's freaky. They're freaky. Everybody's freaky. This man really utilized Chekhov's gun in that scene.
And you know what? And the fact that she didn't want to get cleaned up first says a lot, because we saw how sweaty everybody in there was. So you like Sammie, I was like, you a soldier, Sammie.
Yeah,
Sammie,
he
don't care.
He dove in and didn't care.
Look,
I ain't got no. I thought I like Pearline a lot. I like her relationship with Sammie, even though it's not really she's not like a love. She's like a love interest. It's not about like they don't really they're not really like together. But
He named her club after her though.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, 100%. And I like to perform. I like Jayme Lawson singing. I like her performance that she got. That was great.
The song they're like stomping. That was
the stomp. Yeah, that was really good. And I do like the fact that over the course of the whole movie, like it was like her and Sammie's connection, even though like they weren't a thing, even though that's kind of what you can tell that's what he wanted, but like because even when Stack got bit and they were trying to figure everything out, her first thought was like where's Sammie, like Sammie's in there or whatever, like he was like their connection and their protection of one another. I thought was really good. I thought it was really interesting. Even when she got bit, like even she told him like go like it's not like save yourself, don't worry about me, even though he wanted to save her. I thought was great.
There wouldn't have been a way to save her unless he killed her, which and he said take me out. Ain't nobody else say that. I wouldn't have said that. I would have been like, just put me outside and I'll deal with it.
Let me go, Dan. Going to join the dance circle.
Yep, I'll see y'all later. I don't
doing my Irish jig.
Yeah, I would have. Listen, I don't know. I have such conflicting feelings about those damn vampires. That Irish jig circle really had. I was like, whoa, that's like they're having so much fun.
She did piss me off when she didn't want to eat the garlic though. I was like, girl, that damn garlic. Like I know.
Yeah, but granted, that's the reaction that Coogler wanted. He was like, "Yeah, y'all better don't eat this damn garlic." But I thought
it's like
because you know, Smoke or Stack would shoot you. You know they'll shoot.
They
showed us that early in the movie. They will shoot you for.
I loved how Smoke put a gun to her head. He was like, "You better eat that fucking garlic."
And then he knocked Sammie's teeth in. He was like,
"Boy, I'm trying to save you." I thought Jayme Lawson did a good job. Again, she's on the come up. Like she's in the Batman right now and the Penguin right now. She's in the Woman King. She's on the come up right now. And she's great. She's fine. Oh my lord. Even though love me some Hailee Steinfeld, but Jayme Lawson, wonderful. And then Cornbread. Thoughts on Cornbread at all? I mean, Cornbread was.
Right. I thought he was so funny.
Yeah, he's funny. He's always the same guy in everything. 8 Mile.
Yeah, Omar, and 8 Mile. Yep.
The big buddy. He's always the big buddy, big cuddly.
Yeah, for me, it's 8 Mile and Ballers, like the show Ballers, because he's in that as well.
Right.
He's playing the same. He plays the same character, but I thought he was funny.
He's always good. It's like if you want that guy, that's who you're like. I need a little bit of Omar Miller.
When that's that scene when when we get introduced to him and then he's talking with Stack and then see Stack, he's like he's saying your wife's gonna fuck you after this offer about see how much money you're gonna make. Hey, don't curse for my wife, man. Fuck your wife too.
He's like, you make so much money, she might even let you put your pecker in her mouth.
I was like,
in the way that his wife
they do that back then.
But his wife was like, shit, I might. Like that was,
and then, but I mean, I feel like Omar Miller shined during the scene where like he tries to get back into the juke joint after getting turned. I loved. Oh yeah, but like because we want people, and the best thing you can do is just be polite to one another. I was like, man, he's going for it, and then like, oh man, I thought that scene was my favorite scene of him of him in the movie, and then when Stack tries to give him the money, which again, dumb move. I thought he could just dropped it, just drop on the floor.
Literally throw it, like.
Yeah. But yeah, when he grabs Stack's arm and Stack like does a trick shot and like shoots him in the face. I thought that was crazy.
I love when he's talking and because he's trying to get let in and he's talking to Annie, and he was like, it was probably your old fish grease, and she was like, I ain't never used no old fish. Like she got so mad at him saying that she used old fish grease. Like she completely forgot about the fact that he was like probably a vampire. She was like, damn well.
And again, Annie's banter in that scene showcasing, her taking the lead, which like, no, don't talk to Smoke, you talking to me. And she's like, just admit it, you did. Like, I loved how she could control the situation.
Like, there was never a sense of like, masculinity where he was like, I'm the man. Like he was like, no, she's right. What you're being weird. Because he knows his woman knows what she's talking about. Like
there was that trust. There was that trust with her, you know, which I really appreciated. But yeah, those characters. I mean, they're not to say that like their roles were bad. No, their roles were good. It's just like, you know, I just thought, you know, the other roles are more significant.
There wasn't a bad person in this movie.
Nope, not at all.
I think they were just
Saul Williams as the preacher.
Oh yeah. Even he was good.
Mean, he didn't have a big role, but it was just good seeing him. I was like, imagine if he, like, I don't know if a lot of people know that Saul Williams like was a crazy slam poet back in the '90s, but if he were to, it's a movie. Have you guys ever seen Slam?
No, I have not.
Go to YouTube, look at the trailer. Is young Saul Williams. This is about slam poetry when that was a thing. But I highly recommend that if you get a chance. If he had done like some kind of sermon where he was doing the poetry, well, if you don't know about it, then never mind. It's not important. But yeah. Slam, chance. Check that trailer out, and you definitely want to watch the movie.
I'll add it to the watch list right now. Actually,
I'm looking it up right now.
The song, and you know, Sonya's song.
Sonya's song.
It's just check it out.
You know, well, I'll add it to the list for sure.
Okay.
But yeah, now we're done with characters. Let's talk about the ending real quick. What are your thoughts on the ending? Because again, like we see, like, you know, the reveal with Remmick, because again, the hive mind, you can see all the memories. I love the fact that Remmick was like, yo, like coincidentally, like the person that bit was the nephew to the guy who you bought the juke joint from. I love the fact that you revealed that, yeah, no, they're actually coming to kill y'all. This place wasn't an actual, this place wasn't yours. Your illusion, the idea of you owning your own place and that freedom was an illusion. This was meant to be a kill box. It was supposed to be they were gonna come after you and kill you all. And then like that, and then that again, Chekhov's gun, like, you know, that line where, you know, I think Kolbie mentioned earlier where Stack like, yo, if any of y'all, if we see any of you and your clan, but we will shoot you where you're standing. And after all the vampires are dealt with, well, most of them are dealt with, and you know, and Sammie goes on his way. The real villain of the real villains of the movie, racism, come in and go to the juke joint and Smoke does like a last stand, and takes them all out. I thought that was an amazing scene, and it was again a great action, of course. But I did think it was a great moment where, like, you know, when Smoke gets shot and then he's in the kind of cross, he's kind of wavering between life and death, and he sees Annie and their daughter, you know, in the afterlife. But like when he sits down, he gets those flashbacks of the moments of the movie of like all the good times that were shared in the juke joint at that brief period of time. And it was kind of, I saw a review talk about this where it's like, it's kind of when I watched the second time, it like really like made me think. It really made me like really kind of got me a little teary-eyed, where it's like these guys had like for that brief period of time had a moment where they had something of their own. They had something that they were proud of, had something that they could share with the community that they built in this environment where white folks don't want opportunities. These people even have opportunity to even have moments like this. And just the KKK coming back in was a reminder of like when we get something that we have or something that we can call our own, something we were proud of, they will take any opportunity to take it away from you just because they deem it as something that you don't deserve to have. I thought that was great, and I thought it was a really impactful moment, and was like, damn, it was, and it's so relevant today, like to today, because like there's a reason why, like, you know, black folks in this country are, you know, aren't higher on the totem pole as they should be systemically, because every time we try to build things like this to build generational wealth, build opportunities, they burn it. They try to get rid of it and burn it down. Like Tulsa Massacre, Black Wall Street, Rosewood, like all those events. It's super relevant to now. Like I love it. I love it.
I was kind of confused, at least when the clan showed up, like during the day. Like, were they expecting them to still be there?
Yeah.
I thought that was weird because it was clear like nobody was there. Like there were no cars.
Yeah, like I was like, if anything, which I mean, it makes sense. The vampires came, whatever. It would make sense that they would have came at night, like when they're there. But I mean, regardless, it doesn't matter. They just shouldn't have been there anyway. But I was slightly like,
or what
that would be, my nitpick, I guess.
I was gonna say, or what would have made more sense if they at least had everybody start there for the night before that never ended up leaving. So if so it would have at least looked like there were people there, but it was like literally nobody out there. There's like, we're here to get y'all. Like, there's nobody here, man.
Yeah, like I was kind of confused about that, but unless playing. Like maybe they thought people would still be there like cleaning up. But I also love that Smoke had like he had already got he hid the gun in the ground and like pulled it up and just because he says like he's like a soldier. Like, yeah,
he's a vet. He's a World War I vet. So
but I also love the scene with him and Sammie where he's telling him like you got to give up the guitar and everything, and he's like, if you want me to do that, you might as well just kill me now. And he pulls out that gun quick as hell and doesn't even think about it. And he's like, yeah, I'm a soldier boy. You just gave me a command.
I love that. I love that line. I was like, it's so good. It's like, so good.
Smoke was so good, but also I did love the scene of him kind of stuck between life and death, and then he sees the love of his life holding their child, and then the white man is like talking, and then he's just like
he riddles him with bullets. Oh my lord, it was crazy. But yeah, it's I like how we didn't see him die. It was a bittersweet. It ended with him seeing his loved ones. I like it was a bittersweet ending.
Yeah, I think it was a good way of letting the people know that like he did die without it having to be like this whole shootout or like you see him get shot. He's also had a night from hell. I wasn't sure if he got any other injuries throughout the night. Like he might have. I wasn't sure if that shot would just like kill him. But I mean, it's very possible that like the stress of everything else, like his body just gave up, especially with how you were mentioning earlier with the twin thing. Like even though his brother wasn't dead, his brother was dead. Like he wasn't going. So like the twins don't last long after. So he did die.
Yeah, Ryan Coogler knows how to end the movie. That's for sure. Like even from Wakanda Forever to the first Black Panther. Like the guy knows how to end off on a like somber.
Yeah, no somber note. And then even with Sammie leaving again, like what Kolbie said, like how that scene where Sammie's clutching the guitar, driving away from the church, not looking back. I love that scene a lot. Yeah, the ending was dope. And we'll talk. I think it was a perfect transition. We'll go into the mid-credit scene because the mid-credit scene, I was like, this is great, and it was like 10 minutes long, which was like unexpected. Like Coogler was making us eat.
I was like, sequel. All right, definitely gonna be a sequel,
but
or a prequel because I would really like to see a movie where they was working for Capone. You know what I'm saying? Like,
so we'll talk about that because I got that idea. But with the mid credit scene, which cuts in '97, and we see Sammie as a grown man, as an old man, in his 80s, playing. Now we're seeing his dream in fruition. We're seeing. Him playing. He has his own club. He was playing the music he loves so much. And it's also cut within the credits, so like, it was an interesting moment. And but the thing is, we get and then we when he's after he does his performance and we see Sammie accomplish. We get the return of Stack and Mary in the 90s, and reveal that that they're alive. That we didn't see him die. I thought that was a really nice little twist that Stack also revealed that Smoke, even in their last fight, in their last stand, Stack is the one person that Smoke couldn't kill because that's his twin, that's his brother. I love this scene a lot. Also, tidbit, the guy who played older Sammie is actually the legendary blues singer and guitarist Buddy Guy, who I also knew of as well from from my father as well. Buddy Guy, man. And the thing is, it's kind of personal to Ryan Coogler because the reason why he wanted Buddy Guy in this scene is because and as older Sammie is because Buddy Guy was his Uncle James's favorite blues musician of all time. So it was a very personal element to this story. I love this scene a lot. This was a nice little epilogue for the film, kind of gave it a nice little bow. and kind of cemented the themes of it, where I was expecting kind of like a typical post-credit scene of like, oh, like they come back for Sammie and Sammie gets bit or whatever, or they could have easily just made it more like horror movie tropey, but nah, it was more of a scene where Sammie, Mary, and Stack reflect on on their lives, what happened. And I love how Sammie, and they give him the guitar and they say, listen, we have all your records, we're proud of you for what you've accomplished in your life, and we want to hear that old school shit, man, and not that electric stuff. We don't like that electric stuff. And they have the guitar, that they rebuilt, and also I don't know if you mentioned about the guitar was the Smokestack Twins' father's guitar that they lent it to Sammie. And he starts playing music, so they have that little moment where they're just like, they're just embracing the blues together. And older Sammie said this thing that like almost brought me to fucking tears. Like I was like almost crying, where he was like, he's like, listen, like, and they offer him immortality too, because they also mentioned that he smells him. They know like he's gonna die soon. He's not gonna last that much longer. And they offer him. Stack offers him immortality. He says no. I'm tired. I'm tired, and I'm happy to like leave to die. Like I've lived a life, and he wants to like to move to pass on, which I thought was very sentimental. But Sammie says that like ever since that night, for as how many years I've been alive, ever since that night, one night of every week I've been paralyzing. I have paralyzing nightmares and fears of what happened that night. But at the same time, remembering those few hours that we spent together with the juke joint, enjoying the music, having a good time, everyone laughing, drinking, dancing, that it was one of the best times of my life. And was it the same for you? And then freaking Stack was saying, he said, yeah, 100%, because that was the last time I saw my brother. That was the last time I saw the sun. And for a second there, that was the last time I felt true freedom. Because even as a vampire, even though when Remmick was introduced, being a vampire as an avenue of freedom was a very interesting concept for people in the South, and facing systemic racism and oppression. But in a way, even vampirism is still not true freedom, because you're immortal. You can't die. You can't see the worth of a sunrise. You're in a hive mind, so like your individuality is pretty much gone. So like I thought that was a really nice touch. Be like, yeah, that's where that's where they truly felt freedom, was in those moments that the community that they built shared together. That was amazing. It made me cry. I was like, Jesus, fucking powerful as shit. I loved it. But yeah, what are your thoughts on the mid-credit scene? Guys. Won't say.
I loved it. It's like I was expecting it, but I wasn't expecting it. Like I wasn't expecting them to come in looking so damn fly, like with the Coogee sweater.
Bruh, he looked like Radio Raheem from Do the Right Thing. Oh my lord.
Man, that's of course that's how you'd be dressing back then. Mm-hmm. So, and she was looking like a fly girl straight off of In Living Color. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just love the attention to the costume. I know they work with the same lady that did Black Panther.
Ruth Carter. Yeah.
Just the swag that just dripped when they just walked out. I was like, damn, not only are they alive, they fly as fuck. You know what I'm saying? On top.
Exactly.
Just like they were back then. The equivalent of them back then. That's what they were now. So I love the fact that they just came to check up on him and to just offer him immortality. It wasn't like, oh, we're coming to get you. It's really like, no, you my little cousin. You know what I'm saying? We just, it just felt, I've never seen, I just love it, man. I just love seeing Black people just do shit that we ain't never seen on screen before. I love when we take ourselves places we ain't been. It was perfect, man. Just that cultural, I just loved it, man. I just loved it.
Mm-hmm. It was a nice goodbye. Like it was such a beautiful goodbye. I love it.
So mad when I saw people, because whenever it's a post credits and you always see people get up before they leave. I'm like, why? Like, don't y'all know? And then I was like, you stupid. Y'all know what y'all just missed, man. Y'all just missed probably one of the best scenes of the whole movie. Just so
me
mad.
Too. Kolbie, what you think?
I was not expecting them to walk in there looking like that. Hailee Steinfeld, she had me there. That little lollipop. I was like, damn.
I'm telling you, that 1/8 was working for her. Like, it was working for her.
She put that 1/8 to work. When she told Sammie, she said, "Boy, get the fuck out of my face." I said, "Oh, okay." But yeah, I thought that was a really beautiful scene and that was the other thing I really liked is that a lot of media shows vampires as like this bloodthirsty, like they can't handle being around people, like they sat there and like held each other and listened to him play, and it looked like they had so much appreciation for being able to do that, because as far as we know, they have not seen each other at this point since that night. Like they have not heard him play live. They say they've listened to his records, but like now he gets to see him, and I feel like in a way this is Stack being able to see Smoke again, kind of, because like this is who was there, who witnessed what happened, who witnessed what happened to both of them, and I feel like him saying like, "Oh, your time is coming soon," is kind of also like you're about to go see Smoke soon, and I feel like in a way Stack is jealous of that fact. Like, and that's kind of also why he offers him immortality. Like, you sure you don't want to stick around, like, with me, like, on this side, as opposed to going to the other side, finding peace, finding his family, and, like, really finding that peace that now Stack has Mary, which I'm sure he's happy about, but, like, I think ultimately what he wants is his brother. Because I feel like if the roles had reversed and Mary had maybe like died or something, and both of them had been turned, I think Stack at least would have been fine. I think as long as he had his big brother, he would have been okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, but then there's also the post credit scene, I guess.
Yeah, the post credit scene. And the thing is, I want to add on to what you said, where it's like, again, even though like the idea of like when that play on the idea of when a twin dies, the other one doesn't last long. But this little kind of flip that where it's like, even though Smoke did lose Stack, and then Smoke did dying, but like Smoke is the one that's it's a flip. Like Smoke is gonna last forever because he's immortal now. So it's like that little play on that, and also like this scene kind of cemented to me where it's like the play on vampire logic, because like for me, Kolbie knows this. I'm a huge Buffy fan. Like I love Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's one of my favorite it's one of my favorite television shows of all time. And the way they do vampires in that is a little different, where it's like vampires are a version of demon in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So when someone gets bit by a vampire, gets drained, and then they drink the blood, they taste the blood of a vampire. That's how you turn. So it's that little extra detail, but it allows the demon to enter your body, and the actual soul of the human being is gone, but the demon inhabits the memories and the characteristics of the now vampire, but they don't have souls. So like the character of Angel is a play on that, where he's a vampire with a soul. So that's when I went to this movie, I was like, oh, because like, you know, I would assume that these vampires were gonna be like soulless monsters, like how they are in Buffy and other fiction, but with Remmick, and also like, you know, even the moments where Stack is talking to Smoke and trying to convince him to go on his side, and then this scene in particular is because I know like even vampires themselves like are you know, vampires themselves have souls, but like obviously, but they have that bloodlust to go along with it. Because then they could have easily just went and just killed, just forced Sammie to join their side and like, you know, be ruthless killers, but no, they just came in to just, you know, bask in that moment. And I loved how Coogler, you know, decided to take that aspect of his version of vampires. I thought that was really interesting, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, and things like that post credit scene, I don't know about y'all, well, of Sammie singing that version of Light of Mine. What did y'all take from that? Because I when I first watched it, I thought it was just like a random moment of just like, you know, having Miles Caton do another number, you know, and but I saw it in a review today that they noticed that like he kind of like looks up afterward, and again like knowing griots, this version of griots, how they can see the spirits of the present and the past and the future. Did y'all like think he like saw something or someone like when he was singing that song in that church? What are your thoughts on that?
What did he have the scars in that? I don't remember, or was that before everything happened?
I don't know.
Because I think that would change my thoughts. If he had the scar, I would say I think he probably saw like everyone maybe. If he didn't, I do know that's the song that they were singing like at the beginning, like when he goes into the church, before like we see what actually happened. That is the song that they're singing. So I wasn't sure if that was just like, oh, have him sing the song. If he has the scar, I do think it's possible that he like saw like his family and his friends.
Yeah,
because I also think that's important to why he kept it, because it's like he knew that was a possibility of seeing him again because of his connection to music.
For sure.
Yeah, like I said, I gotta watch it one more time, but just initially, just from sitting through all those credits and to just see that, I was kind of like, oh, okay. I was a little deflated after watching Michael B. Jordan and them come in. I was like, okay, all right, but I probably need to get another look. I didn't see him look up or necessarily anything, or I didn't notice the scar. So, a second viewing, it is in order.
For sure. But yeah, I mean, so that to close it off, I wanted to know what's next, for Ryan Coogler going forward with this film. I personally, I know you're like sequel. I don't want to see a direct sequel to this. I think with Coogler making this film, he said he wanted everyone to go into it feeling like they had like a full meal, which I felt completely. I feel like this is a well-crafted, self-contained story that I don't think needs a sequel at all, like a direct sequel at all. However, I am curious. I want to either see a movie that's set in the same world as Sinners, whether it's another time period or another supernatural element that he utilizes. I would want something like that, whether it's vampires or demons or whatever. So I think another movie set in the world of Sinners would be a good way to take this. Or we already put the nail on the head. I would love to see a prequel of Smoke and Stack, while seeing their origin, their upbringing in Mississippi, them leaving and then becoming workers and enforcers for Capone in Chicago. I would love to see that. And again, we know how it ends because they end up getting the big amount of Irish liquor and Italian wine, stealing from both Italians and the Italian mob and the Irish mob. And I can almost imagine that fight of how that would go down. Like that would be crazy. But yeah, I would love to see a prequel or something set in the world of Sinners. I don't know what are your thoughts on any.
Yeah, definitely more interested in a prequel than a sequel. I feel like since it's Coogler, Ryan or Michael B. Jordan is gonna be in it regardless. So there's that. So, I would be much more interested in the '80s vampires, but no. The Capone, yes, because I didn't even know Capone had any black soldiers or black people in his crew. So that alone, I'm intrigued just see that dynamic. And then I was thinking, what if Remmick was originally looking for them for stealing that beer? I thought that could have been like, he didn't mention it, maybe because he noticed Sammie was there. He's a kind of switched focus, but for all we know, he could have been there to hunt them down. Who knows? I don't know. It could be. It's a few different ways you could go with it if you wanted to. But the Capone and the Black twins is enough for me. Like, you can go with there, and I'm good.
So you mentioned Capone. I had to go to my bookshelf. I had to grab some. There's a book that I read the first issue of. I love the concept of it. It's called Shadow Doctor. I don't know if y'all ever seen it. I think it's blurred. But this book is pretty much about the story of it's based like written by Peter Calloway or by George Genti, and Peter Calloway is based on a true story within his family where his grandfather who was black was a talented doctor in Chicago, believe it or not. And because of his skills was recruited to be kind of like a doctor for the Capone crime family. And it's based off a true story. It's based off true events. So people want to check that out, Shadow Doctor. But But I think that's pretty much. I think we're pretty much on the same page. I don't know, Cole, I don't know what days you have on what we could do next with this property, because again, he's gonna own it in 25 years, so I want to see.
It
more.
doesn't matter. I'll be seated. It really don't matter to me.
And he really doesn't have to do anything. That's the cool thing about it. He doesn't have to make a sequel, and it'll be just fine. But I
He
can
could
be that
release this exact same movie and call it Sinners 2, and I would still see it.
right. But it's so successful. It's like you don't not make a sequel when the movie is this successful. It seems like if I don't know, especially this type of movie, a genre movie like a vampire movie, it's like primed for a sequel. But another thing, and just before we leave, the name Sinners for the movie, I always thought was interesting because it wasn't really a focus on sinners. Like, I guess the twins were because of the life they lived, but there was never really an emphasis or a focus to justify that name for me, other than it's a provocative title, but that really wasn't the focus of the movie. What do you guys think? Did you guys think Sinners was like a theme, like an overarching theme throughout, or because I didn't really see it?
I think it can be interpreted different ways. Because I do think, because obviously, like, there's a religious form of sin that they're heavily focusing on, and they're saying that, like, music is, gonna bring the devil. And then there's, like, I think ultimately everyone in their own right was a sinner in their own different way, and ultimately they all ended the same. But I wouldn't say that, I don't know what else I would call it but I mean, I didn't make the movie, so I guess I wouldn't know. But yeah.
Because even the preacher never really, I would have thought maybe he would have had a sermon, a light, something expounding on sin, or they just kind of tie it into the title. I'm just thinking it just probably sounded cool. Because a lot of times as artists, we'll just do, like, everything don't have to have a meaning. Sometimes it just sounds fly, it sounds good with what I'm doing, could work. And it works. Sinner, I mean, that's a great title for this movie, even though, if I heard about a vampire movie called Sinners, I would automatically think it's going to be heavily religious or heavily like crosses and all this and everything, but it wasn't really at all,
I mean, for me, I feel like more of the, in terms of it's interesting because, like, the atmosphere, I felt like, especially with like the atmosphere, I felt like, I guess, in terms of the title, because you did have people, the idea of, like, in terms of sinning, like, people, especially with the preacher, talking about how people, like, dancing, like, getting drunk and sweating all over each other. We did see that,
right. And,
like, we saw Sammie be we saw Dammy be a little freak. That we saw people be freaky. That was the thing. Like, yeah, I feel like the activities wise would be attributed to the name, but like,
like this. If you had to give this title, okay, so what would you tell this movie? What would you tell somebody this movie is about at its core? Like, strip away the vampires. If you just had a break core, what would you say this movie is about?
Man, I would probably say, honestly, I would already just say just straight, like, this is just like straight up a movie about the blues, like literally, like metaphorically and literally. Yeah, I would just probably just say it's mostly just about the blues and community. But and that's the thing too. Like, I'm worried that some people, especially people who are who are stronger believers, are going to be deterred by this movie just because it's called Sinners. Like that's one thing I can't stand is when when people who are that fond of their beliefs or like judge the book too much by its cover and
right.
don't really actually look into it and watch them with an open mind. But
that's really one of the reasons I thought of that, because I've been seeing videos of people, like, I walked out because they was or they won't see it because it's called Sin. I'm like, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's because for me, if I had to tell somebody what it was about, I would say it's about family. It's about lineage. You know what I'm saying?
Tradition.
Really, it's about family and connection and legacy. That's what I got from it. Whether you're talking about Grace and her husband and her daughter, whether you talk about the brothers, his child that's dead, all of these different people coming in through music, like, it was really all about family. I mean, when you really break it down, but you can't call it family. Sinners is just a dope title, so I get see what you guys thought about that.
Yeah, I don't. I think Kolbie's drawing a blank because I like it. That's a really interesting question. Like I'm just like, damn. Like I don't even know what I'd call it. Like
Yeah,
that's
like
crazy.
I do think ultimately it's about community. I also feel like it's about choice. Like ultimately it is about the choices that you make and how that affect the life that you end up living. Because ultimately Smoke and Stack made choices that they ended up having to live with. Annie is choosing to live in her, I guess it was like a shack, but she's also using like that money that isn't really money. Like everyone is making the conscious choice of these things, and everyone made the conscious choice to go to the juke joint. Everyone, it's all about being aware of your circumstances and where you are and who you want to be, and like
freedom.
Like freedom.
Yeah, that was my biggest takeaway from it.
I don't know.
Freedom. Yeah, yep. That'll do it. Freedom is the new title for Sinners. But yeah. So yeah, what are y'all? What's your final verdict on this? What would you all give Sinners out of 10? Any final thoughts you have on the film?
12.
12. Okay.
Yeah. I think I definitely give it a solid 10. I thought it was great. Yeah.
For me, it's like a 9.5, 9.5, 10. Like it's I think it's a genius film. I think it's genius, and Coogler really is stepped up and paved the way now. Like I like what Kolbie said earlier. Like because she's a writer, I'm an artist. Obviously me and Keef knows that because that's our connection. But I felt really inspired watch after watch. I felt like I felt hungry. I wanted to create. Yeah. And I've been in kind of like a little slump for a while. Ever since I graduated college, so I needed that push, and Coogler kind of gave me that push with this film for me, and it worked. A lot of the stuff, like even though you had ideas that you were worried that were going to be like revealed in this, I'm working on something with twins. I'm working on something with like mythology and like Voodoo and all that stuff. So, but this helped me with that as well. But yeah, this movie's brilliant. And people, if you watch this movie more than once, like we've said, you have to watch the movie twice, 3 times even. It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. But yeah, so overall, we'll say it's a solid 10. It's a must. God damn it. Yeah, people. That's pretty much it. Yeah, thanks for everyone who are watching this or will watch this. We appreciate it. Please hit the subscribe button and say what's up.
Before we go, I would just like to say, before I agreed to partake in said podcast, Mikey told me that we would be on here for like
I would say you changed this to the longest podcast ever. This is the longest podcast I've ever been on, but it was great. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not mad about it, but
I'm not mad at all.
Hour and a half. We're hitting 3 hours now. So
that's usually the case when I do podcasts. I always say it goes way over, but yeah, people are like, I still had fun though. I was like,
yeah, I had fun.
I went upstairs. She was about. The wife was like, "What the fuck? You still down there?" I was like,
"Yeah." But yeah. What was I saying? Oh yeah. Subscribe, all that shit. Yeah. Who wants to plug anything? Keef, you wanna plug? Wanna let people know where they can find you and all that?
Just everything at Keef Cross. If you want a copy of DayBlack, just DM me.
Yeah, I actually would. I would love to connect and hear about like you as a Black writer, as an aspiring author. I don't have anything to plug. I am about 100 pages into my first novel. It's called The Morning Cloak Memoirs,
which I'm proud of you for, by the way.
So I'm working on it. I've been talking to some publishers, putting some feelers out. So I would definitely love to talk about like those things, about like what to look for, what not to look for. But again, would love to connect on that.
For sure. And here's DayBlack. People that don't know what it looks like. Yeah, DayBlack is. We're gonna talk, Keef, after like, because I love this concept for DayBlack. There's also a short film that he did as well, which is really good. Kolbie, I'll send you that as well because I did do a short
film, and I didn't really want to talk about this, but just because we're on the subject of how this is important for. Okay, so put it like this. So DayBlack, do we have time for me to keep going?
Okay, just real quick. Yeah,
I do need to go, but again, I will connect with you, and I do want to hear about.
We will connect. So yes, Keef Cross.
Bye.
That's it.
Okay, we'll just wrap it up then, guys. All right, but again, appreciate you all, love y'all. Again, let us know what y'all thought about the movie, and as always, catch you next time. All right, peace.
Peace.